Tell us about the tattoos.
Shut the fuck up, you little prick.
But then I've got the Phoenix.
Hey, prick.
So I'll take it from Bob every day of the week.
Absolute disgrace.
I'm sure no one will mind.
Move him out of here, Darren.
Ricky Hatton didn't go over for his fighter because he risked getting abducted and sold into sexual
I never said that.
Both have been rape victims. I'm not watching Frank Buglioni live on a Saturday night. You're out of your mind.
Jesus Christ, get yourself a life.
He's actually a priest.
Yeah.
It's because his brother John Fury eye gouged him.
What have I told you all this time? He's going to end up sucked out, fucked out, looking for a handout.
Boxing, nutters, messenger group. I'm gonna be the king.
J-Pump, you know what I'm saying?
Well, hello everybody and welcome to the 479th edition of the Boxing Asylum Nuthouse podcast. I'm your host Steve Wellings, and joining me on the call we have Andy Patterson and Matty Di Gialinardo, going live on YouTube from 8 o'clock every Sunday evening. The Patreon RSS feed updates shortly after the show concludes. And hello to everybody listening through the week on SoundCloud, Apple Podcasts and Spotify. Don't forget to like, subscribe and leave a review on the podcast player of your choice throughout the entire month of March. Entire month of June even. March, where the hell's my head at here? June, nothing less than 5 stars is acceptable. Maybe I've taken a few too many shots here, Andy, off the beast himself, coming off with little mistakes like that. Madison Square Garden last night, Bob Arum was at ringside getting high as a kite, if reports are to be believed. Tell you what, another exciting finish from a Russian destroyer. They're pretending he's Canadian. We all know the truth here. He went in against a serious threat and a fellow world champion here. This is no bum. Joe Smith, he's a big puncher in his own right. Beterbiev made good on his promise of a seek and destroy finish, and he pounded him to defeat inside 2 rounds.
Absolutely, it was a destruction. That's the best way I can call it. And at the same time, I think Smith really just kind of woke up the beast really early doors. I think he kind of went looking for Beterbiev, and Beterbiev's not having it. He starts swapping hands, and I think you could. I don't want to say that he quit, but I think there's a bit about Smith in that once he got. I think it might have been the second knockdown. I think it was. I think at that point he was like mentally gone by this point because he got wobbly legs. He's thrown. Was trying to throw right hands at least. Just had absolutely no answer for whatever Beterbiev had for him. As you say, he's not a bum in any shape or form. He is a solid, he was a belt holder as such, but as I say, he was a solid top 5 guy without doubt. And he just got made to look like he was a journeyman basically. Obviously, you've now got the Anthony Yarde fight potentially brewing. He seems to be kind of like going out his way to try and wind up Beterbiev and that as well. That's not wise. That's not wise. Just to call him slow and plodding. When he got asked that question and he kind of responded to it, I think Ricky Gravel said to me, he says, "Look, he's got that lodged for a later date." So it wouldn't be the done thing really to try and wind this man up. To say he's just a full-on beast, man. That's what he is. Well, obviously we want to see the Bivol fight next, obviously, but you just don't know with these politics. You know, obviously the TV situation that as well. And Bivol's tied up to a rematch as well, isn't he? So possibly we'll not get the fight this year. So
there's a rematch clause for that shit.
For Canelo against.
Okay. I thought you were saying for Beterbiev and
No.
It's like, oh fuck, what's the point?
No, exactly. So.
Well, and again, what's the point? Fuck.
I know it kind of backs it up a wee bit, but at the end of the day, both guys just got to keep doing what they're doing, keep winning, and we'll get the fight hopefully at some point next year if cooler heads will prevail and deal can get done hopefully. So, but no, look, Beterbiev, as I say, I don't know much I can add for the fact that it was a 2-round destruction, but an absolute mauling. It was what it was, mate. It just absolutely destroyed him. And as I say, at this point in time, it's just going to be the classic boxer that's going to give him severe problems. As someone that can take his power, but take Bivol to the side. Apart from him, I don't think there's many actually top 5, top 10 in that division could possibly handle that guy's power legit, to be honest with you. Like,
no, it's going to be difficult to beat him, all right. Ozzy Smith has jumped on the call as well. We'll go to Ozzy very shortly for his thoughts. Matty, I'm not sure if I was the only one to spot this. I haven't seen it mentioned anywhere, so let's throw it out into the open. The commentators didn't pick on it either. Something I noticed in round 1, right? Whenever Smith went down the first time, which was rightly ruled a slip, he got back up again. And there was this look on his face to me as if something had changed. He looked a little bit surprised, a little bit concerned, maybe buzzed up. Now, it was a slip. I'm not saying it wasn't, but when the bout resumed, he went right onto the back foot. Even though he'd been coming forward up to that point behind the jab, I was worried about his future prospects at that point, rightfully so. I think something happened there. I think he felt something and thought, oh, shit.
I think whether he went down from a punch or not, it doesn't really matter at the end of the day, because I think the first clean shot shook him down to his boots. If I recall, before the bout, they said that Joe Smith has never been down in his pro career. I'm trying to think back.
Pro or amateur, I think they said.
Yeah. So I mean, that's incredibly impressive. And I think back to him losing, I'm like, yeah, I think that's right. So the fact that it was so early and he was hit so hard. I mean, this is a guy you got to consider. I mean, he really has an iron jaw. He's been in there with, basically everybody at light heavyweight except for Bivol, except for Beterbiev at this point in time. And he's gotten through, at least to the bell. Where in this case, I mean, he just got absolutely battered. And I think it just goes to show that this cat's got a different level of power. And, whether he came, I don't think he came out dry. So I'm working out in the dressing room. I just think that he felt that power and he didn't know what to do, because, and also the fact that I think he didn't think that Beterbiev had anything more than the power so much coming in. And I think as he kept throwing his shots and he wasn't able to land clean himself, Smith realized that this is a much more polished fighter who has a huge punch, and he was just doomed. And once you lose that mental thought that you can win, it's over. And it happened really early for Joe Smith Jr.
Ozzy, we're all lauding the power of Beterbiev here. Another little precursor to the ending. Joe Smith leaned forward early in the second round. He overreached, overextended. He was getting a little bit desperate, and he suddenly looked like a sitting duck for the uppercut. Once again, Beterbiev noticed this. He swiftly obliged. Seconds later, introduced that shot to great effect. Smith was just caught in an absolute whirlwind, didn't know what to do. He only had one way of fighting Smith. I don't blame him for coming forward. That's his game. That's the only way I think you're going to beat Beterbiev, unless you fiddle him around for a few rounds and run out the way. Try and go toe-to-toe with him. Try and get what Callum Johnson did. Knock him down. Try and knock him out. There's nothing else Smith could do, but Beterbiev's just an absolute machine, man. He just grinds you down.
Yeah, I was surprised how one-sided it was, actually. I said last week I thought Beterbiev would win, but it'd be a lot later on. But seemingly Smith just couldn't take the power, could he? And when he was hit and hurt, he just didn't know what to do. I agree in the sense that if you are going to beat Beterbiev, I think there's only Bivol for me who can outbox him, but that's his style. Anybody else, I can't see them having, the capabilities to do that. So they are going to have to go toe to toe, and you need to be able to A, be very evasive, or B, have a fantastic chin. And be prepared to basically, if you're going to throw one, you're going to have to take one as well. Smith stuck to what he knows. It just didn't work out, and he just wasn't good enough, and that's fine. I mean, he just couldn't take the power. It's freakish power. He stopped everybody who he's boxed as a pro. And he's not been in with puddings either. He's stopped some good fighters. And yeah, he for me, he is the best in the division. Like I said, I was surprised how one-sided it was last night. I thought Smith would certainly ask some questions early on, to say the least. But I'm not saying he was caught cold, but I think, he took one early and he wasn't warmed into the fight as such, and he just didn't have the powers of recovery to continue. For now, I think, look, there's talk of that Anthony Yarde fight. He was ringside last night. Tunde Ajayi was there as well. But I think as a boxing fan, we all want to see the Bivol fight next. There should be nothing that is stopping that, in my opinion. I know they claim that they've got a deal in place, but if the Bivol fight can be made, Let's get it made. I like Yarde. I think he's good. I do think he has some qualities. But if Anthony Yarde was, Spanish, German, we'd just be saying this is a pointless mandatory and it shouldn't be happening. Or can we sack it off until a later date? We want to see the Bivol fight, which will be certainly interesting. And I always say, if Beterbiev lands, there's not many people that are going to beat him. I do think Beterbiev is the best in the division, but I think Bivol will certainly ask questions, and it will be a very, very interesting fight, to say the least.
Yeah, Des in the chat there, shout out to the boys. He says, not wishing to split hairs, I don't see Beterbiev as a puncher like, say, Wilder. He's an intimate thudder. Everything he throws rocks you. It's something to see. It's true, Ozzy. He's got the jab as well and the work rate behind that.
Yeah, it's a fair point that there's not many people that hit like Deontay Wilder. Not at all. But the thing with Beterbiev is that every shot hurts and he's got power in both hands. That jab, his jab's probably fucking harder than some other, light heavyweights power punches. It's that good. I agree on that. He has had those one punch KOs before, but he's not, he's more of a concussive puncher. But it's arguably worse in a way because you can't take 12 rounds of that, can you? Because you're going to be battered. You're going to be beaten up badly if you do go the distance. But he's got power in both hands. He's better than just a power puncher as well, without a doubt.
It's
but
so
it's
much polish. It's so much polish in delivering that power, and it's Wilder. You guys know he's one of my favorite fighters, but I mean, he really has that right hand. A few ways that he delivers it, but he has that right hand. Freaking with Beterbiev, what direction are you going to exit where he can't hurt you upstairs or down? He has it all.
Mm. Yeah, I agree. I agree with everything you say. And a fighter that's got power in both hands is a very dangerous fighter as well. And as I say, if you're going to beat him, you need to be prepared to take the shots unless you somehow ice him early. And whilst we have seen him hurt and dropped, I thought he coped well when he was dropped. Johnson had him buzzed, but you didn't feel like Johnson could have, got on top of him and got him out of there, in my opinion. The only thing that I think might just catch up with him is father time. I think, does he turn 38 later this year?
Yes.
I know he's not got loads of miles on the clock, but the human body can only take so much, and those camps. Well, I mean, his camp probably would have taken more out of him for this fight than Joe Smith did. So yeah, father time might be the only thing that catches up with Beterbiev.
Yeah, I agree with Ozzy on that as well, because Beterbiev, he's not just a puncher, he's a boxer too, and he has this ferocious work rate. He's shown against guys like Marcus Brown that even though he might lose rounds and might have to try and figure you out at the beginning, he can come back and beat you. Even if he's got blood pissing down his face, he can still beat you. Nobody's been able to take him the distance yet. And unless you shell up completely like that fellow, I think it was Coling or something did. It's all right going the 12 rounds with him. I think he's a favourite over Bivol, not just because of what I saw last night. I think Bivol's a fantastic fighter. It'd be a close enough fight, but Bivol's going to have to find those exit points. He's going to mess him around at times. He's going to outbox him. He's going to throw those shots, but Beterbiev's just relentless. He's going to constantly be coming forward, hitting to head and body all the time. Can Bivol stand up to that? I'm not so sure that he can, to be honest. Matty, Anthony Yarde, people are mentioning that. I want to see Bivol next, no excuses. But if Bivol's going to fight somebody else, like, I don't know, Ramirez, or have a rematch with Canelo, or whatever he's going to go off and do, at least if we're going to see Beterbiev in again, let him fight Anthony Yarde. People are talking about Yarde's power as being a bit of an equaliser, a bit of a way into the fight. There's levels of power. Who is he knocking out? Guys down at this certain level. I'm not trying to disparage Yarde to a certain point, but his punch power is there against guys like Lyndon Arthur and these other people he's bodied on BT Sports. Trying to put that power onto someone like Beterbiev, not just a world level fighter, but a unified, close to undisputed fighting champion. That's a different level, man. I don't think Yarde's power at the moment necessarily will carry that far.
No, he's European level, right? And I think, and he doesn't have the skill set that a Marcus Brown has. So he's a dead man walking in that one, Steve. The Bivol fight. That fight has intrigue. It has doubt in your mind. As I play it out in my head, I think it would look a lot like the Vosdick fight. But I mean, that's just a hunch. I mean, I could absolutely be wrong on that one. But the Yarde fight, I mean, we're talking if he makes it past I don't know if he sees the 6th round, I think that would be a miracle, right?
Don't think he'll get past 4, to be honest.
Yeah. So let's do whatever we can to avoid that. And maybe while he's in wait for Bivol, because I think this might have been his last top-ranked fight, Steve. I could be wrong.
Is it like a fight-by-fight thing now? Because I thought last time after Brown, they said it was his last top-ranked fight. So are they just sort of trundling along together, maybe?
Could be, and it could just be the fact that it made it so that the Joe Smith fight could be done, and that was attractive money-wise. Yeah. But I mean, hate to say it, but he should go over to DAZN. And he should maybe fight Ramirez to welcome up to the DAZN audience. That wouldn't be a bad one. And then Bivol. And let's do that, because that basically cleans up 175 pounds. I'm sure there's a couple of people kind of lingering about that might deserve a chance. But in my mind, he'd basically have it done and call it a day. You are the man at 175.
And as well, Matty, at the risk of belaboring my point about beating Beterbiev, you mentioned Marcus Brown's skill set, rightly so. But Brown's skill set won him a couple of rounds and kept him sort of relatively active, competitive, and then surviving up until, the 9th or 10th round. You need someone to be able to do that for like 7 rounds to 5, at least, to beat him. I mean, it's one thing surviving, giving him a little bit of trouble. How are you going to get over the line and beat him and stop him, or even beat him on points?
You have to have a good motor. And I'll tell you why I think the Bivol might have a better chance, because he's better than Vosdick. Not the puncher that Vosdick was, but he's better than Vosdick. But he has the ability to put together those straight 3, 4, 5 punch combinations, maybe finish them out with a hook and step away like that. He's not going to be able to do it with the ease that he did with Canelo, given that he's not going to have that incredible height and reach advantage, but he still will have a height and reach advantage. And that's why I think, if there's somebody that has something to offer, it's going to be Bivol, because you have to put together enough punches with enough pop on them that it keeps Beterbiev occupied. Beyond that, you got to have the motor, and he has the motor. That's why that fight's interesting. But God, it's still hard to see somebody going 12 with this monster. I mean, fuck. I think if you hear the scorecards against Artur Beterbiev, God, I think that's an accomplishment in itself.
It is indeed. And a question for you on the... Hopefully my sound's all right. I know this sound's going a bit dodgy there, so we'll just get rid of Amit Sharma very briefly. He says Canelo doesn't want that Beterbiev smoke. Address that one first of all, Andy. Canelo, Beterbiev. Obviously, Bellew's going in for Bellew of the week, talking about that fight. But I thought beforehand, and I agree with it now after watching last night, Beterbiev stops Canelo for me.
Mate, the way it's going just now with Beterbiev, and, just that third in power. If you look at it at times, Canelo against Bivol, for example, you just could imagine if Bivol could actually had a bit of a punch about him when he let his hands go. Imagine if that's Beterbiev, you say, with some of those straight shots. All he needed was a jab in the right hand, really, to kind of beat Canelo, Bivol. But if you imagine Beterbiev in there doing the same thing, yeah, I think he would end up punching holes through Canelo at some point, possibly even stops him later, I think.
Steve, are you on mute?
Oh, yeah, I was talking away, Matty, and nobody got to hear me. I'll start that again, shall I? Des had made a comment. He said, Yarde fighting Beterbiev is the same as Adrian Stone going in with a Pete Mosley. Yarde has got a lot of fights to win at home. I wouldn't do it. Beterbiev can ruin you. Yeah, Adrian Stone...
Did Adam not say about that fight, about the Yarde fight not happening in the UK?
Are they talking about it? Wasn't there some announcement? IFL put something up October the 22nd. I don't know if they could put a location. I just saw that one floating by, unless it was a spoof account.
I'm sure Bob said something. I think he confirmed it after the fight, but I'm sure he said something during the week about this potential. Because I'm assuming Yarde's new the mandatory challenge for WBO now, eh?
Yeah.
That'll be getting called next at some point. As I say, Bivol's tied up anyway, innit? So it makes complete sense if you want to keep him busy, because that was the main thing, wasn't it? A couple of years back, he wasn't fighting as much. Beterbiev, there was an issue, maybe it was an injury, or I don't know if it was something to do with something wrong with his promoter. I think at the time it was with that Canadian-based company. And we just wanted to see him active as such. He was only fighting once a year. So, just need to see him active as such, yeah.
Certainly. We've got a couple of questions from the subscribers coming in this afternoon. Let's deal with them shortly. Yeah, Ricky says October in London. Here's one for you, Ozzy. Christopher says, who wins at 175, Beterbiev or the light heavyweight version of Smigger who fought Ward? Big fat Smigger soaking up those bombs with his Jim Royal beard. I can see it, Ozzy. I'm a believer.
Yeah, Team Smith all the way. I think Smigger could do what some people deem as the impossible and without a doubt pull off the victory. But no, there's no chance. That would be a fucking massacre. Bloody hell, big Smigger's belly soaking up those big body shots. Jesus Christ. It wouldn't end well. On the Smiths, I see a couple of people mentioned Callum Smith as well.
I know.
That's a fucking bad, that's a bad fight for Callum Smith. He takes shots as well. It'd be interesting because I do think, Smith, one thing he's got is massive. But I think it'll be a massacre again, and I don't think they'll want that. Pretty sure, actually, Smith will be. I'm pretty sure Smith's highly ranked with, I think, the IBF. So there's every chance he might be in the one spot for the IBF belt as well, which, again, I can't see Eduardo.
WBC, mate. I've just pulled it up. Number one in the WBC. He's number
right,
3
WBC. Right, WBC it is then, yeah.
He's no
so Yarde's one at WBO, and that's due to be called. And then you've obviously got the WBC, which Callum Smith's at as well. So I don't know what they'll do because they can't sit on that one spot for for a long time. But yeah, that's a bad fight for Callum Smith, Beterbiev. It'd be a massacre.
Joe Smith was feeling those body shots last night, by the way. But imagine what Callum Smith would happen when he starts getting tagged to the body.
Yeah, he'd fold. He'd get folded like a deck chair. It'd be curtains for him. It's a bad fight for him, really bad fight. I don't think the Bivol fight's much better for him either, to be honest. Two different styles, but two I think he'd struggle with.
No, I agree with Ozzy. Yeah, Smith has an eliminator coming up soon, says Ben Russell. It just feels like a fight who's the career, the wind out of his sails seem to disappear, Ozzy. The momentum disappears. I mean, he might be doing well for himself and maybe I'm forgetting about him, but I mean, he seems to disappear again.
Honestly, the worst thing, apart from his bank account, which was apart from his bank account, which it topped up handsomely, the worst thing that happened to him was that that tournament, what's it called?
Oh, the World Boxing Super Series.
Yeah, because he didn't even have a good tournament in that as such, did he? I mean, did he beat Eric Skoglund in the first round in front of a tiny crowd in Liverpool? Then he should have been fighting. Was it Arthur Abraham? He should have been fighting Jürgen Bremer, who then pulled out, and then he fought that kickboxer Nicky Holston and looked shite in doing it as well. And then he boxed George Groves, who, was not 100% fit in the ring, was coming off that big shoulder surgery and wasn't fit. And yeah, beat a washed Groves, really. But he's just never had that momentum. Lost to John Ryder. I think people forget that now at super middle. I'll to this day, I'll always say John beat him that night. And then, he put in a poor performance against Canelo. And then, when he did come back, up at light heavyweight, he got that fantastic knockout over that Lenin Castillo. Do you remember he dropped him and that Castillo was like shaking on the floor? Mm-hmm. Fantastic knockout. And he's not been seen since. He's just like like you said, the forgotten man. If he retired tomorrow, I don't think any of us would be disappointed in a sense that at the moment you don't look forward to watching him fight because you never know he does because he doesn't do anything. He's never got that momentum behind him. I mean, he sat on the one spot with the WBC for ages. Do you remember trying to fight? I think he was trying to fight Badu Jack, and then he ended up fighting like the likes of Luke Blackledge, just ticking over. And then he never fought for the WBC belt. He ended up entering that series. Look, financially, he's done fantastically well for himself. I can't believe he's still boxing, but yeah, momentum's just not there. He obviously left Gallagher. I think he's with, I can't even remember who he's with now, actually. Is it Joe McNally? Possibly, I'm not too sure. Yeah, it's just...
He was over in America, wasn't he? Training with somebody at a time.
He was,
Was that him or Liam? One of them was, I think.
I think so, yeah. Liam Smith's definitely with Joe McNally now, definitely. Callum Smith, I can't remember. I don't know if he permanently
Was
went
it
out
Buddy
to
McGirt
America.
or somebody like that? Didn't he? Was it McGirt
Yeah,
or
no, who
Joe
was it?
Goosen? Somebody.
No, it wasn't Goosen. I remember tweeting it a while ago.
Cedric Sniff says Buddy McGirt, Ozzy, so it might have been him.
Oh, right. Well, if that's who he's with now. But yeah, this is what I mean. You just don't know, do you? We don't know anything about him. When's he fighting next? Who knows? Who knows? But he needs to get active, because otherwise, the last thing you want to be doing is you're going into a Beterbiev fight off the back of no fights, loads of time out the ring. It's just not going to end well.
It's not going to end well, indeed, for Callum. Yeah, we'll get rid of Cedric Sniff there. Here's one for you, Matty. Luke threw this in as well at patreon.com/Boxing Asylum. He said, following his win last night, how did the panel, especially you, Matty, think Beterbiev would have done with previous light heavyweight champions like Andre Ward, who, of course, was thrown into the Hall of Fame this weekend, or last weekend, whenever it was, Kovalev, Stevenson, Ward, Kovalev, Stevenson. How would Beterbiev do against those champions, do you think, Matt?
I'll tell you what. When you said Ward, and I think about that, and I think about how much of a hard time he had with Kovalev, especially early in their first fight. And there's just more tools to Beterbiev's game. And so I think that might have been a one where maybe they had split fights where Andre Ward clearly lost the first one, but given his skills and his ability to adapt, if given a second opportunity, he might have found a way through. Man, trying to think. Hopkins, I think Hopkins would have been an interesting fight. Probably, like if you take the version of Hopkins that fought Tarver, I think that's an interesting fight. I think that's a really interesting fight. I don't know. I don't know. Andy, what do you think on that?
Remember, Andy, at the time there was talk, wasn't there, Beterbiev Kovalev, because they had the amateur rivalry. Dan Raphael thought it was close to being made in 2014, 15, something like that. Kathy Duva thought it was over the line. And then Beterbiev's people, I think it was Yvonne Michel, said he didn't want to make the fight at the time. So that was closer than the others are supposed to being made.
I completely forgot all about that entire situation, to be honest with you, mate. It's actually new news to me, actually, to be fair. Was it the question about how he'd handled previous champs?
Yes, following his win last night, how do you think Beterbiev would have done with previous light heavyweight champs, Andy, like Ward, Kovalev, Stevenson, etc.?
Well, with the Ward fight, I've always said that Ward would find a way to win, and always say he would retire undefeated, so that's what he's done. I would still say Ward has got enough tools. He can rough it up as well. He can tie you up. He can make it ugly if he had to. Kovalev, Pete Kovalev, that is. I think that's a proper shootout. I think whoever can land the heaviest shot first would be the winner, actually. So basically, kind of like just chin number, for example. Because remember, Kovalev in his peak was absolutely icing people, proper icing people. Whereas Beterbiev's probably like just punching holes in you, and you're fucking feeling every shot. Stevenson, I think it's a wee bit tricky as well. Being a southpaw, he was fast. Obviously got that power on the left hand. I'm trying to recall if I've ever seen Beterbiev. It's been a while since I've seen the Usyk fights in the amateurs. Going back fucking over a decade there with they two fights. So I don't know how he does with the kind of southpaw, so to speak.
He fought Andy some southpaw. There's a fellow with dreadlocks, Alexander something. He messed him about for 6 or 7 rounds, and then he just caught right up with him. He's the only one. Marcus Brown, of course.
Marcus Brown,
a few odds issues,
that's
but
right.
I think Calzaghe would have given him fits. Now that I think about it a bit.
Yeah, it's the same. I've said it before that Beterbiev can, even he was a top amateur back in his time as well. I think he even won a world medal, I believe. Certainly got a silver. But I think at times as well, he could be a wee bit basically. He can walk in straight lines. He can maybe not kind of cut you off possibly. So I think he would have problems with boxers and movers. But I think it's just if he starts landing the heavy blows, as we said there last night, obviously as well, starts landing the heavy blows, starts slowing you down. He can eventually catch up with you, especially late on anyway. If you're able to kind of take his power, as Matty says, for a good portion of that fight and maybe making it to the final bell would be a success in itself. But as I say, to take that, and the thing is as well, if you've got a guy marching to you, just trying to kind of throw heavy shots at you all the time, that's fucking mentally draining as well. Physically having to move back, and if you don't know how to fight on the back foot as well, you're going to have problems with likes of Beterbiev. So I think likes of Ward, for example, I just think the way he took Kovalev apart in that second fight, and you could say about the low blows if you want, and we were all raging about it as well. But they're the guys that find ways to win fights. For me, Joe Smith, as we mentioned, he's a very good fighter. I just think his game plan last night was to come out very early doors because Beterbiev sometimes starts slow, takes him a wee bit of time to get into the groove. But he just seemed to wake up Beterbiev last night, didn't he? And he went to work. And I just think if other people do the same, go to him, make him fight, I think it makes it a far interesting fight than letting Beterbiev just kind of like come to you and just. If you try to survive against Beterbiev, then it becomes a bit like a non-event for me. If you go looking for him, it's definitely going to be something to watch.
He kind of takes a few rounds usually to figure fighters out, but there's not a lot to Joe Smith Jr., so he just went out and fucking did it.
Yeah, I suppose. But at the same time, Joe's got a decent jab, a good right hand. We'd never seen him get hurt in that fashion, didn't we?
But he was always easy to hit. But he was always easy to hit. So that was he knew what he had to do to hit him, and he did it early and often.
Anything from you, Oz, before we move on to the undercard? Stevenson, Beterbiev, Kovalev, Ward, kind of getting into that mix. A big, exciting Tarver, I suppose you could throw him as well.
Yeah, exciting times. I certainly think, I agree with everything that was said. He would certainly pose problems to them all, without a doubt. I think Andy makes a good point. This isn't a guy, who's just got a bit of power. He was a quality amateur as well, so he's been in with the best. The Calzaghe fight would be excellent. I always think his power's a leveler as well. I know it's concussive, and it's ultimately Howard does. How would it stand up? I would love to have seen the Kovalev fight, in his, from his prime. And I think the Ward fight would be very interesting, really interesting, because let's have it right. I had Kovalev beating Andre Ward first time round. And I think that fight seemed to be the downfall of Kovalev, actually. But it'd certainly be interesting. He'd be the genuine 50-50s is probably the best way to describe it.
Yep, agree with that. I think so. Beterbiev, quite the monster. On the undercard, Matty, the only bout I saw on the undercard was the Rabezi Ramirez knocking out Abraham Nova. I thought beforehand that Ramirez would go super tactical Cuban and box to a boring points win. I was wrong as usual. He stood in the pocket, planted his feet, let the bombs go. That KO finish was an absolute cracker, especially considering the size difference between the two of them. You see Ramirez's stance, his attitude, his style. It reminded me of John Real Casimiro, Matty.
Yeah, a little bit. And he kind of had a little bit of Gamboa early in his career, just kind of tracking you down a little bit and then just throwing some hard combinations. He definitely surprised me. I thought that Nova was going in there with a fair chance given his advantages and also the fact he has a really high work rate. But Ramirez was able to keep a good tight defense while getting inside and working really good hooks and uppercuts. And then in the fifth round, he just uncorked that left hand and absolutely demolished Abraham Nova. And given that performance, you got to say there's a new player at 126 pounds. Man, I tell you what, I sure as hell wouldn't be signing up to fight him.
Anything else on the undercard that you caught? That Senior Byfield ended up in a fight with Wendy Toussaint. You had all the prospects knocking about. Bruce Carrington Jr. is meant to be decent. Troy Isley, from what I've seen of him, is pretty good as well. As I say, I only saw the main two fights. Anything of the sort of, ESPN Plus portion, whatever it is. Did you catch any of it?
No, I ended up watching the UFC stuff that was on before the ESPN started. There were some good fights on there, and I just found myself completely engaged for rare time in MMA. So, but I hear that everything on the undercard went as planned if you were to look at the books.
It did. Quick note from the, I know I'm keeping you going here, Matty, but quick note from the main event as well. I just want to say shout out to Harvey Dock. I think he did an excellent job. He didn't last very long, the main event, but I like him. He's a good referee. I think he did all the right things at the right times. He was fair enough. And at the start, he gave Smith every opportunity and jumped in at the right time, Matty. So pat on the back for the ref.
I'm a big fan of Harvey Dock. I definitely think he's one of the better referees in boxing at this point in time, and I think looking at it, if you're looking to try to create a really good referee, I think some combination of Steve Smoger and Harvey Dock is the way to go. I think that Harvey's trigger is just a little bit better than Steve's, who, God bless him, he never never cut a fight off short, but he did let a few go long.
Yeah, never left anything to chance, did Smoger. A quick one to you, Ozzy. I'm not sure if you saw Ramirez against Nova, but I'm just going to give you a wider point to deal with. Alongside Yo Elvis Gomez and David Morrell, there seems to be this young breed of Cuban boxers who are keen to let their hands go. I'm assuming, or there's a stylistic shift maybe after the era of Rigondo, Lara, the Barthélemy brothers, all very super talented, but all cut with the same cloth, very negative fighters. These new Cubans, they seem keen to throw bombs, and I'm a fan of that.
Well, I think, yeah, it's definitely a change in style because, at time Rigondo was just boring, just really negative, boring to watch, didn't engage. But I think anybody who's willing to let the hands go and throw shots is exciting to watch. And Ramirez looked good last night. I think we all said he was going to win last week as well. But yeah, it was good, and it's an entertaining style, isn't it? You watch it you watch the sport to ultimately see people get hit, and when you've got people throwing big shots, throwing in combinations, letting the hands go, looking to throw bombs, they're going to be exciting. So yeah, the new trend is certainly the ones who are letting the hands go, and you want to see more of them. If it was just going to be this negative back foot style, it's one of those fights or fighter that you won't pay attention to as much, or if you're watching a show, you can get other things done because you're not that bothered about watching it. But when they're exciting, you want to stay down and locked in on the fight because the fighters make things happen.
Yeah, MB, I forgot to mention Dortico. He was the trailblazer in aggressive Cubans, so shout out to him. Big punching cruiserweight exploder. Andy's back with us here. Talking about Robeisy Ramirez, Andy, a couple of points for you. I thought Nova, he was a lot bigger. He had good jab on him, the length, the height, the reach, but he was busy without being too effective. And Ramirez, after a while, was like, I'm going to plant my feet and just get him out of here. We were saying off air beforehand, and I agree with you. I wasn't too fussed on the cockiness, really, against an overmatched guy, which it proved to be, like Nova. If it was like a bit of a shithouse, I would have been a bit of a fan of it. But maybe that's what he needs to hype himself up, to keep himself focused or something. But he was shithousing a little bit, wasn't he, with Nova? He seems like a decent enough dude.
Yeah, I don't mind the shithousing, but I just think I like to see it at certain times. Then the other time, as you say, that that level of opponent really, at the end of the day, it was an impressive performance, I must admit. He seems to be improving, obviously after coming through that the shock of his pro debut. But at the same time, the finish was emphatic, absolutely tremendous finish. I was reading somewhere as well, I don't know if it's true, it must be true actually, about the number of lefties that come out of Cuba. It's incredible. And I'd read somewhere that actually the Cuban trainers take these fighters, some of them who are orthodox, they actually convert them into southpaws.
Yes, I heard that too.
It must be true because it's just uncanny as to how many lefties come out of Cuba throughout the years, even as amateurs.
Andy, actually, there's a very good explanation for that.
On you go.
Cubans have no rights.
For fuck's sake.
What you try to tell me? So basically, she's like, listen, you're fighting the left-hander, and that's the fucking end of the matter.
No, you're setting something up, Andy. Go on.
Oh, I know, mate. I'm too hungover for this nonsense just now. But yeah, look, very decent performance. I thought he maybe kind of planted his feet too often. I don't think that would work with maybe like a Shakur Stevenson possibly, but he seems to be improving as such. He seems to be kind of sitting down on his shots a bit more than that as well. So he does seem to be more impressive to watch. We just need to wait to see how he goes now up against the top dogs. I don't know if he's going to get a big push into kind of more meaningful fights, for example, or I'm just happy to kind of like let him build for another year or so yet. But I don't know how he's going to do as a headliner as well. To be honest, not many Cubans have actually get this, this big following. So it'll be interesting to see if his moment comes to maybe headline a card as to how it would probably do as well. It'll be interesting to see what Bob does with him.
Matty, you've put this up on the screen here. Prograis Thurman announced for September. I thought last I heard they were going to put Boots in against Thurman, but Prograis, he's always scratching about for a fight. It looks like the PBC have pulled him in to fight Thurman if CHR is to be believed, Matty.
Yeah, man, and that's one time against Rougarou, man. That's a good freaking fight right there. Prograis coming up a division. Thurman, not a huge welterweight. Both of them decent punchers. Both of them a little bit there to be hit. I don't know that the books will see it that way, but in my head, that's a 50-50 fight.
You think, Andy, Prograis Thurman?
Yeah, I would say 50-50. I'll agree with what Matty said there. In the day, you got Furman, at this kind of latter half of his career, and Prograis is the one that's always seems to be talking about, he's getting fights, for example. Another guy who, spoke about Callum Smith in the World Boxing Super Series, it didn't seem to kind of, part of his bank balance, do him, really anything for a great highlight reel. Prograis been the same since his stint in the Super Series and that as well. He had that fight, it was at Dubai, or was it on Triller, whatever it was, and it was a complete shit fest.
Against Tyrone McKenna, that one?
Aye. Was that that one?
That was Probellum, that was on Dubai, yeah.
It was like some sort of dodgy stoppage or whatever. It was a kind of mind, but something dodgy happened in that fight.
No, I think McKenna was cut and getting beaten up, wasn't he, from what I remember? I could be wrong.
Maybe it was just the event itself, mate. But yeah, I'll go 50-50, but I'm going to say Thurman would probably win it at this point. Still, he says he looked decent in his last fight, I must admit.
Yeah, against Barrios.
Yeah, so I think he's still got enough about him at this point. It'll be interesting to see though.
Certainly will be, from one level to the other. Sorry to have to do this to you, Ozzy, but we'll take you back to Friday evening if you haven't forgotten this one already. I don't know who signed off on this. Fat Mix out of Channel 5. Seemingly, Wasserman and Cali Saraland are in. Nathan Gorman, Weatherspoon's Dorman, 19 stone 3. Fat as a pig, Michelin man, Oz, like Terry O'Connor himself, going in against this flipping Thomas Salek. It lasted, all of 2 minutes or something like that. It was an absolute disgrace, as you would say. We managed to watch it on a little clip myself, and I mean, what's going on here? What happened?
Yeah, you said it right. It was an absolute disgrace. It was terrible, absolutely terrible. I mean, we mentioned last week that we've seen this Thomas Salek getting banged out in a Dennis Hobson's car park by Cash Alley, and he came in last night, and they were trying to big him up, describing as the champion of Czech Republic at heavyweight. Yeah, who cares? Who cares about that? It's not exactly a star title that the Czech Republic's brimming with, big heavyweights. It was terrible. I honestly don't know what Nathan Gorman gained from last night. On Friday night. There was nobody there watching. They must have done about 600 tickets, something like that, tops. Look, he got a KO on terrestrial television, but what's the point? Literally, he did nothing for him last night. I thought he was in poor shape. He needs to get active. I mean, they said on Friday that win puts him back in the mix with the likes of Dubois, Joyce. I'm thinking, no, it fucking doesn't. It doesn't do anything of the sort for him because he banged out Thomas Salek. That puts him in, with some good, legit European fringe world level fighters. Does it? Heck. He needs to get active again. He needs to be out, I reckon, again, a couple of months, tops. Go straight back into the gym and build some momentum. Because, I mean, his fight prior to that was against that Pavel Sauer, who I think who actually got beat off that Salek. So, yeah, not a good night. It's the only fight I watched. The card itself was a joke. How Channel 5, was satisfied by putting this on the box, I have no idea. But I said last week, the Sauerlands are just cartoon characters. I don't know what is their game. What are they in the game for? Because it's not to put good fights on. They just dick around. They play on this, the cocaine angle. Calisolan laps up that. They dress Maris Braders up as Super Mario and then have him chasing around Jake Paul. What is the point of Wasserman and the Sauerlands? Because shows like Friday, I've just no interest in them. They do not need to be on my television again. It was dire. There's been some bad UK shows this year, and that's the worst of the lot. So it says it all. We've watched some shit, and it was just a joke. Absolute joke. Gorman needs to be looking at, for me, I think a good fight for him is Fabio Wardley. I think he beat Wardley, actually, because I know I've just criticised, the fight and stuff. I actually rate Gorman. I think he's got good skills. I think he lets his hands go. He's quite quick for a heavyweight as well. Just needs momentum. I think, Wardley for the British title would be a good one. Maybe look at getting a Commonwealth title. Get him active. But please, no more of no more fighters like that, that's for sure, because they're just pointless. They're absolutely nothing. And Gorman's had, the experience, coming up as well. The likes of like Kevin Johnson, Razvan Kajanu. I know he fell short against Daniel Dubois, but again, it was a big fight. I don't care if he's had a longer layoff. He's better than that. And you could have got someone miles better who would have actually given him some rounds. So, yeah, let's judge on the next opponent. But Friday night was not good.
Wasn't good, Andy. I know we watched it, and if the main event wasn't bad enough, that fucking monstrosity on that monstrosity on the undercard with his tattooed body, it's coming up for Bellew of the Week. I mean, what the hell is going on? Get Fat Mick back in, man. I don't watch this shit anymore. This shouldn't be on any TV. This is fish, chips, and scraps level. This is loaded TV. Kelly Maloney, man. What the hell? What's going on here?
Mate, what the fuck was that, mate? I mean, obviously we were doing a show Friday night for the Patreons. We had that on in the background. This was just deplorable stuff, mate. It just really was. I kind of switched it on kind of like halfway through because Josh Kelly was really in at the third round. But what was that guy's name again with that shitty tip? It was Aaron Chalmers. I think it was his pro debut. I think it was.
Yeah, wasn't he on like frigging Love Island or one of them?
Yeah, well, as I says, I'm the idol painting myself, but what the fuck? What is that ink? What is all that about? Literally got an absolute entire sleeve and up across his shoulders and his neck, literally coloured in green.
I was going to say, it looks like somebody's coloured him in with a green marker pen.
His trainer was the same, Ozzy.
I was going to say, yeah, they're fucked, mate. They're fucked. And this is what I mean. This is Wasserman in a nutshell. They're putting, bloody MTV, like reality TV people on their undercards and stuff like that. Well, man, the guy's from fucking Newcastle. If you're going to do it, put him on in Newcastle. I know he should have been on that. They've got him out, and he's shit as well. He's fucking dire. He's not going to go anywhere in the sport. It's just a mockery, innit? And as you say, I mean, he comes out thinking he's the big I am, then reveals that half his body's coloured in with a green marker pen. And then to put it on worse, he didn't, he was in with some absolute garbage opponent and just did nothing, just didn't look like getting him out of there. I didn't think Josh Kelly looked great, actually, either. That Peter Kramer's not fantastic. And not say, look, he dominated, but I'm really not sure. I just don't think Kelly's that good. I think he had all that hype, didn't he? When he had those, those big knockouts against lower level opposition where he was throwing like 8 uppercuts or 8 hooks in a row. I'm just not sure how good he is, really. I don't think they know what weight's best for him. I don't think he's got the power that, you need to go up the levels. And if you were to put him in with Troy Williamson tomorrow, the 154 British champion, I think Kelly would get beat. I really do. I don't think he's. I think he's going to be one of these, fantastic amateur, but when it comes to the pro game, it just doesn't suit him.
Andy, I don't know how much you saw of this, so feel free to cut me off in my prime if you want. Australia, I think it was Wednesday, Justice Hooney, someone me and you been keeping an eye on, came in at £242, quite heavy. His brother, Hooney, was making his debut on the undercard as well. Justice beat Joseph Goodall, 10-rounder. I was considering getting it from the usual sources, decided not to in the end. Don't know if you saw it, heard anything about it, dude.
I didn't watch it, mate, purely, and I did my quick research before the fight. I'd actually heard that these two were sparring partners, and I automatically thought straight away, this is a distance fight, I ain't watching it. And lo and behold, I checked the result, UD10, so I was like, yeah, I'm glad I didn't watch it. But Hooney was the one that had, might have a fight with someone quite meaningful and had a hand problem.
Had a hand injury. He's also supposed to go to the Olympics, come back again, yeah.
That's what it was, yeah. So, yeah. No, I didn't catch him, mate, unfortunately. Well, probably fortunately, actually, in that regard. But as it says, once I heard it was his sparring partner, I got vibes of, who was it again? Oh, it was another fight that kind of happened out in that area. He came in as late notice. Was it Parker against Takam? No, wasn't it that? Who was it? Joseph Parker fought one of his sparring partners once.
Oh, was it that? Oh, yes, it was that Romanian based in Canada.
That's the one.
Kajanu or something you call him.
Aye, and he stepped in for, I forget who the fight he was meant to initially fight. And the fight went off, and they actually had to bring him in, the sparring partner, in to save the show. I just got that vibe off it when I read the story. So no, I never watched it, mate. Unfortunately.
Yeah, I think it was Razvan Kajanu, Andy.
I think it was, mate. I think it was.
Good luck to Razvan Kajanu going forward. Ozzy, tidying up the final things from the weekend. I didn't see anything of it. Don't even know if it was televised, but we did mention it last week. And a couple of fighters that we are aware of got wins. They're not with their respective promotional companies anymore, but Archie Sharp beat beat Alex Rat, the informant, as I like to call him. That should be his nickname. Lightweight, 21-0 sharp. O'Hara Davis knocked out Abdesamad Netchad in the 8th round, and Jack Bateson defeated Diego Alberto Ruiz. We've seen him on these shows before. Michael Marsden matchmaking, Mark Bateson show in Leeds, like a dinner kind of affair, possibly.
No idea. I didn't see anything of it. I just seen that idiot Archie Sharp come out of it saying he wants to fight Oscar Valdez and he'll school him for the full 12 rounds, which I thought I've seen enough of that. The headline is enough for me. But yeah, I thought Bateson may struggle, actually. I saw that Ruiz, and he's had a bit of success over here, and, he drew with McGregor, but off the cards, it looks fairly wide. But yeah, another card that does absolutely nothing for me. Not bothered.
I was not fussed about that. Yumi Yappy says Archie Sharp beats Shakur for me. Well, you never know. You never know, Yumi Yappy. Quite a few people in the sport who know the sport better than we do have been saying similar things or stupider things. We have a few questions before we get on to next week's action. Let me see if I can bring it up. In fact, I haven't given the chat a shout out. Let's rectify that right now and give them a shout out. We've got Ricky Gravel there in the chat. We've got Yumi Yappy. We've got Ray Reardon, snooker legend. Johnny Horsecock Nelson's with us as well. Demon Graham, welcome to you. Haven't seen that name before. Michael Thompson, Marty Smith, Jack Dio. Who else is here? Big A. Ben Russell's with us. M. Lithgow, 1983. Des, as always. Good shout out to Des. He's here. Boran. Adam Hughes, always good for a comment or two. Warrior Webb is enjoying himself. His missus is off watching something, and he's here with the boys. Chilo 35, Ryan Ormerod. Final couple of shouts out as well to MB, and last but by no means least, Dinch is in there as well with us as well. So shout out to him. And Chris Butler has jumped into the chat. Right, we've got some questions. Let's bring them up right now before we talk AJ Usyk, which was announced just before we went live. We'll go to the questions first of all. We'll come to you first, Matty. James Windsor over at patreon.com/boxing asylum says, what's your favourite KO in boxing history? Any context, Matty, anything you want, whatever reason, what's your favourite KO in boxing history?
Man, that's a really great question, Steve. I think that I if pressed on that as far as, it's great to go into the far past and historic knockouts and stuff like that. But is my time as a boxing fan where I've really been into it and is my favorite fighters, I'd have to say when Sergio Martinez knocked out Paul Williams, that left hand was one of the great punches in the last 20 years of boxing. Beautiful shot.
It certainly was a beautiful shot. Over to you, Andy. What's your favourite KO in boxing history? I think for historical reasons, I'm going to fly back to 1993, a bit before my time. But it happened. George Foreman catching Michael Moorer. That was a classic KO. I love that one.
Yeah, I was also going to mention a Foreman knockout as well, mate. Remember the time he marched right across the ring and was it Jerry Cooney? I think he hit a right uppercut.
Oh, yes, that's right. Cooney was standing there, wasn't he, for the follow-up, like a sitting duck?
Literally marched right up to him. Literally walked right up to him through the shot and then he went. Oh, mate, that was probably that. That was probably one of the great ones. But ones that always, Roy Jones knocking out Art Sawano, almost broke the guy's leg. He's kind of like contorted over as he got knocked out. And probably Nigel Benn knocking out Anthony Logan when he was like,
oh yeah, the big swings.
He was all at sea. Nigel Benn, literally get knocked out. He was like taking like 20 unanswered shots he was taking, and he just fucking uncorked the left hook for helmet and just iced the guy. So that's part of my childhood. And that kind of always like comes back to me, that one.
Yeah, some crackers there. Ozzy, any on your agenda from recent years or past years? Significant ones for you?
Deontay Wilder when he iced Dominic Breazeale.
Yes.
I thought that was a fantastic knockout. That it was Daniel Dubois had a big one as well. When he knocked out AJ Carter for the Southern Area title, that was a fucking huge shot. Carter just walks straight onto that right hand, and when they fall forward and just collapse in a heap, that absolutely fucked. And that was one of them as well. And there was another one I just thought of. Alexander Povetkin knocking out Dillian White. Big uppercut.
Yes.
Yeah.
It was so unexpected too.
Mate, see, you mentioned that. See, you just mentioned that. I automatically thought about Floyd Patterson knocking out Ingemar Johansson with the fucking leg line twitching as he's lying there sleeping,
Yeah. There's there's the one punch KO ones. I mean, Povetkin again when he banged David Price. I think every knockout of David Price is, could be a highlight knockout because he doesn't take a shot. The Erkan, but I don't count that because that fucking Erkan Tepe was a big fat drug cheat. But my God, he knocked Price's block off, and his head was just under the ring, like the ring corner, wasn't it? And he tried to get up. Yeah, he was absolutely goosed. But there's loads, isn't there? And when it comes to good knockouts, it doesn't even need to be at the top level. I know some journeymen, but you see some journeymen get absolutely annihilated by these young prospects, and you think, my God, is your purse really worth it? But yeah, Wilder for me, he's one of my favourite fighters, and when he just iced Brazil like he did, my God, it was a huge right hand, and Brazil just didn't have a clue, did he? Didn't have a clue.
The Spilka knockout was a good one too from him.
Yeah.
Oh,
Spilka. Oh God, it was. Yeah.
I think that was a lot shorter shot. And I'll tell you what, as much as I love Roy Jones Jr., the Lebedev knockout was just so fucking great because he was gone, and Lebedev looked at Smoker like, are you gonna make me really do this? Stop.
I'll tell you one of them, and it's I'm gonna bring his name. Audley Harrison when he knocked out Michael Sprott?
Michael Sprott, yeah.
With one arm.
And Harrison had one arm, and he was terrible for the full fight, and then landed a massive, I think it was a left hook.
Cross. Aye.
Yeah, left cross, and Sprott was just gone, just a corpse on the floor. Fucking huge shot it was.
I remember seeing that fight in the pub actually, and the whole fucking place went up in the air actually. And everybody hated Harrison, but because it was so sudden and just the way it was.
Yeah.
Total turnaround.
Oh,
total.
He probably lost every round.
Yep.
And I think that's what makes it, also better and sweeter. He was miles behind on the cards. One arm, and then bang, lands that big left cross, and bang on the chin, and it was lights out.
I think another classic you got to go to if you're going older fights is Tommy Hearns icing Duran in 2 rounds. I mean, not just because of the punch, not just because of the way he went down, but the fact that he iced Roberto Duran with one fucking shot.
You see the state him trying to get up, but he's like, what the fuck happened to me? Literally light switched out. Fucking starch, man.
It's like, how did that happen to me? Because look who the fuck he is. Like, he's a badass.
Never before or since did anybody knock him out like that or stop him like that. That was
Hearns' power was legit, wasn't it, Andrew? Man?
It was, man. It was. And that was the thing to see as an amateur, he wasn't a big puncher. Hearns, probably because he was a mover, he was a kind of boxer mover, really wasn't really sitting in his punches, but by God, when he fucking got his range, he faked that shot as well. I think he faked Duran to the body by a jab and just brought the right hands right down the middle. Fuck me.
There's a couple of others as well. I mean, God, when you think of one, they all come back. Was it that was it Uzi Ahmed who got banged off
against Ashley Sexton?
Ashley Sexton, yeah, he'd come to the ring, all fancy, dancing around, and he fucking
walked too long in the fight.
Yeah, it did, yeah, and my God, it was because he was a little weed, wasn't he, Ahmed, and stuff like that. He just took this big shot, and then another one, Tank on Leo Santa Cruz.
Aye.
Yeah, I thought Santa Cruz was in a bad way, man. That was a rough knockout. That was.
Callum Smith knockout his last fight. What was that guy's name?
Lenin Castillo. Said it just then. Lenin Castillo. Yeah. I think it's hard to have an ultimate favourite, but I think the ones that they've all got in common is these one punch KOs. The ones that we really remember. It's not a sustained beating. It's the ones from where it just takes one shot and it's lights out. They're the ones that do stick in the memory.
I remember Mikael Kessler knocking out Alan Green with a left hook. Turned into stone, man. Literally fell.
Didn't Kessler go down in that round in that fight too?
Yeah, he did.
I think he did. He did. There was another one I was going to mention there. It was an old school one as well. I'll tell you.
I'll tell you.
Usyk against Bellew.
Yeah. That's good.
Oh, that was a good one. Can he punch? No? Really punch?
yeah. It was a good one. And Bellew on Makabu as well.
Yeah.
he literally iced him, stood up, didn't he? And he just fell into that corner. He was gone, Makabu. So,
Steve, what about the guy? Was it Takaloo against?
Yeah, they've mentioned. I was going to
Alexander?
mention that, Andy. Wayne Alexander against Takaloo, yeah, because Wayne Alexander had been hurt to the body badly, and then he just caught Takaloo with the left hook. I think it was lights out, man. That was a cracker.
Fucking
I'm also really fond of Whitaker stopping Hurtado. Just because the way he just beat his ass.
The referee. That was thinking.
But hold on, and it's just, but that fight. I mean, he was down multiple times, and that's just not in him. And the way it was just incredible. You're talking about depleted, hardly training, coked up to his fucking gourd, Sweet Pea. Like that was like one of the worst versions of him, and that was fucking crazy. And in that same vein, I think that we're going to be, in years to come, we're going to be talking about Lee Wood's knockout over Mick Conlon coming back in that fight as well.
Yeah, great show.
Yeah, that's a good one.
Great show. Yeah, that's another good one. And there's one from the chat as well, Steve. I've just had a quick look then. And Sam Maxwell, when he banged out that French guy who was showboating. And,
yes.
Losing the fight as well at that point, eh?
Oh, yeah, God, yeah. I think Maxwell had been dropped twice, was well behind on the cards. Pretty sure it was the last round. And fucking hell, he just landed, the biggest right hand he could throw.
Yeah, it was like the last 10 seconds or so, wasn't it?
Yeah. Huge right hand. And the French guy, for all his showboating, didn't even see the end of the round. Gone.
There's some crackers in the chat. Michael Thompson threw one in that I was going to throw in as well, just quickly. Roy Jones with the hands behind the back against Kelly, because that represented Pete Jones. The opponents weren't up to his level, but that was a cracker. Go on, Oz.
No. That's me from ones that I can remember of anyway. But there's loads, isn't there? You picture them all, these one-punch KOs, and like I said, we've just the ones we've described. They've all been a variety of levels, but it's why we watch the sport.
Against Beck the Bully.
Yeah. Oh God, yeah. Again, and Rosado is not a big puncher either. Known as a big puncher anyway, producing knockouts like that.
And Julius Francis, of course, knocking out
against the box park guy, exactly. Let's extend it quickly, just off the top of my head here. I was thinking of one I was at. Think of ones you were at and you've seen, because I was there when Mikey Garcia beat Dayan Zatikanen, and that was a bad knockout, a real bad one.
God, it was.
Can you think of any that you were actually at the fight when it
Canelo versus Khan?
NUA against Payano.
Yeah, that's a good one.
I mean, not many people would have seen this, but I was at Jack Catterall's fight when he won the Central Area title against Nathan Bruff. And Bruff was about 6'2", and Catterall just landed a straight left hand on him, and Bruff went down. It was a huge shot, fantastic shot. Didn't look like, a big, powerful one as well. That was, Arena went up, and then when Bruff didn't move, I think everyone thought, fucking hell, is he all right? But yeah, I remember that one from note about a KO, that's for sure.
I've got a belter actually. It was on the David Hay, Vladimir Klitschko undercard. It was Afolabi knocked out Terry Dunson.
Yes, right? that was
a cracker. He smashed him with a right hand. I think it was a right hand, right? I swear to God, that never in my life have I actually watched a guy's mouthpiece just fly out the ring, and I'm actually watched to see where it fucking landed. Actually, it was
Dunstan could punch too, Andy. I saw him sparring once. He was a banger, man. He was a hard puncher.
Dude, I tell you what, fucking Afolabi has a hell of a resume, and he has a lot of draws on that resume. It could have been W's very easily. Like that guy, he fought fucking everyone.
Yeah, 4 fights against Huck as well, man. Every one of them were a war.
Dude, and I'll tell you, did we unbelievably not mention Marquez knocking out Pacquiao?
Someone did mention in the chat, Matty. Throw it in,
I mean, obviously that, and let's give a shout out too. I mean, there's so many great knockouts. I'm going to give 2 to Ricky Hatton, who was supposed to be fighting next week, but now it's been pushed back to October or November. His body shot knockout of Jose Luis Castillo was a corker of a shot, and his left hook upstairs on Carlos Mousa. Wicked shot.
Oh, one more, Steve. Ron Lyle against George Foreman.
Yes.
That whole fight is goddamn gold.
That's like 5 or 6 rounds of unbridled savagery, that one.
They're all coming back. Kiko Martinez against Kid Galahad recently.
Yes. Alan Stacey threw in Kiko against Bernard Dunn. He was at that fight, I think, so that was a good one.
And I remember one, a bit of a blast from the past. Remember Oval McKenzie? He chinned John Lewis Dickinson on, I think it was a think it might have been a Dennis Hobson show, actually. Huge knockout. I'll try and find it on YouTube. That was a massive one. Mackenzie used to be a good one for a big KO, actually. He dropped Tony Bellew twice in the first fight they had. And I think Bellew did a backwards roly-poly when he got dropped first time off what's it called, off Mackenzie. He was... I mean, he only had 13 KOs out of 25 wins, Mackenzie, but he hit a lot harder than that. But yeah, there's loads, isn't there? The more you talk about it, the more you remember. But the quality to watch, and we've just listed probably 30 in 10 minutes.
And there'll be loads not even mentioning half of them.
How do you narrow it down? How do you narrow it down? Dimitri Pirog and Danny Jacobs. That's a great.
No. I'm not so sure about that one, Matty, because Jacobs got back up again and the referee called it off. And there's actually some people who think that Jacobs should have been allowed to carry on. So I'm not.
I'll give you that. But sure do you remember Jacobs' ears twitching? He got hit so hard his fucking ears twitched. I remember that vividly.
A bit like when Wilder hit Fury, you see the ripples of
the flab
right down his body, man.
I remember seeing that happen to Darren Corbett once on a prize fighter, Andy. I think he was fighting a guy called John Anthony in between rounds. Sky showed the slow motion replay, and Anthony hit Corbett with a body shot, and the flab was just rolling in slow motion.
It's once you see in slow motion when they can take a shot, or saliva or snot comes out their nose, and it's just big stringy thing.
I seen a Lemieux one of that. So Lemieux hit somebody, and the snot just flew out on Box Nation in a big string across the ring, slow-mo.
See, one of the best memes I've ever saw, really, it was when Golovkin knocked down Curtis Stevens in that first round.
Yeah.
He's got that look on his face. He's like, ooh, what the fuck was that?
Do you remember we interviewed Curtis Stevens before that
Donnie
fight?
did.
Me and Donnie did. Yeah.
Okay, hell.
Kiss of death. Right. Kiss of death. How many people that we interviewed before a fight did they lose? I think there's been a good handful.
Remember we got Big Enzo in here the week before he fought Roy Jones out in Russia, eh?
Yeah. That's been quite a few.
I'll tell you what, that was a fucking KO as well when Buddy Macronelli chinned Roy Jones Jr. Yeah, that was a big KO. That
Enzo was embarrassed though, man. He looked like he'd hit a kid in a wheelchair after that, didn't he? Poor Enzo. Yeah. Tommy Morrison's name was mentioned in the chat. Whether he was knocking people out or getting knocked out, Andy, Tommy Morrison was always good for a knockout, wasn't he?
The left hook. Who was the fight?
Ray Mercer.
Ray Mercer. Fucking hell, man. That Mercer could fight as well, mate.
Oh yeah, hard man.
He was a legit fighter.
Give Lennox a good fight, yeah.
Some people even say that he maybe lost. Lennox actually lost to him actually. But I always remember that fight against Lewis when Lewis threw this 3-punch combination. By the way, I've always been in awe of it. It was like that finished with 2 right uppercuts, I'm sure. And Mercer just swallowed every one of them. Didn't even budge. It's like see that time he hit Vitali with that right uppercut.
Mm-hmm.
He's got a legendary chin. Absolutely fucking legendary chin. Say whatever else you want to about him. That guy could eat fucking shots. Or was it Oliver McCall that also could eat a hell of a shot? I'm trying to think.
Oh yeah, he never got stopped. Yeah, he had a great chin.
Wasn't he fighting up until 5 years ago?
Yeah, he was 52 or something. Yeah, that's right.
Unreal.
Yeah, absolutely.
Unreal.
Oz, did you have anything else to throw in?
No, mate, no.
No worries. Let's move on to our next question then. It's from Michael Thompson, who's hanging around in the chat. We'll get to you with this one, Matty. Do the pod think pound-for-pound rankings are actually as meaningful as they're made out to be? I see them being cited more and more often recently. With so many journalists, commentators and companies constantly giving their pound-for-pound lists, I tend to think it all loses all meaning anyway. And instead of being a talking point, it just seems to cause unnecessary and time-wasting arguments. If anyone does think pound-for-pound rankings are legitimate, who do you actually go by in that case? The Rings, Dan Raphael's? Maybe Boxing Monthly you're talking about there? Keep up the great work and get a life, will you? What do you think, Matty? Get a life with the pound-for-pound rankings? I think if it suits somebody, like ESPN, say they have a load of people in the pound-for-pound rankings, they'll cite it more than people that it doesn't suit.
I think it's there's got to be kind of a way of measuring fighters against each other that would never fight because they are, so far apart in weight, et cetera, et cetera. That I guess that's the value that it provides. I'm not against them. I mean, in my head, I kind of have an idea who the top 5 or 6 fighters are, but to be honest with you, I don't know whose top 10 pound for pound list has what. I don't keep one myself. I just know that in my head, I mean, at this point in time, it's Inoue and Crawford are basically 1A and 1B.
Andy, I just treat it as a bit of fun. I suppose we can have a chat. It's subjective. Some people have different criteria to others. Some people take it seriously. Some people don't. I'm not really too fussed about the pound for pound either way. It is what it is, as a wise man once said, Andy.
Yeah, I'm not really into the kind of pound for pound thing in that as well, to be honest with you. Not much anyway. I mean, it's obviously easy. It's easy to kind of throw it out there like, oh, he's ranked number whatever it is, pound for pound. But as I say, if I was going to read any pound for pound list, I would probably go with the Ring magazine. But I've just pulled it up there. Like, I don't know if I would have Inoue number 1, to be honest with you. We've got Inoue 1, Usyk 2, Crawford 3, Spence 4, Estrada 5, Canelo 6, Lomachenko 7, Bivol 8, Josh Taylor number 9, and Jermell Charlo number 10. If you want to discuss it, I wouldn't say that Inoue is deserving number 1 status. If you're putting anybody on that list there, I would probably need to say it goes to Spence. And I know for a fact Tyson Fury actually hates talking pound for pound sometimes, because he says, look, how can you really measure like a guy like Inoue against Usyk or Fury, for example? I mean, they've got Usyk there ranked number 2 in the world, but they've not got fucking Fury ranked in there. How does that work? Fury's the man at heavyweight. How the fuck's he not listed there? I know it's
because it's pound for pound they're taking into account. Yeah, the cruiserweight round it must be.
But then obviously you're talking pound for pound punchers and that. Wilder's one of those guys. Fury just fucking had 3 fights with him. Should have won all 3 of them. But yeah, look, it's subjective at the end of the day. I just think it's one of these ones actually which you'll never really get a list that you'll 100% agree with. There'll always be something like, oh, he's too high, he's too low. As I say, Inoue wouldn't be my number 1, and I rate him very highly, but I wouldn't rate him as number 1 pound for pound. If anybody, as I say, is Errol Spence, possibly would be my number 1 at this point.
No.
How not? Mate, what he's done in his career.
Crawford's done more. They have basically the same resume at welterweight.
You try to say that Crawford's got a better resume than what Spence has got?
Yes.
I'm not agreeing with that one.
Yes, he has belt splitting 3 weight. It's
so what?
3 weight classes.
Mate, I can go and buy a belt tomorrow.
And he opened up as the favorite over Spence already in the books.
Oh well, I'm not surprised you know about the betting margin, to be honest with you. But no, I just think, considering what Spence also come back off as well, right? That car accident, and go into the ring with his last 2 opponents, to be fair, and they also have the detached retina as well, and come back and still fucking look pretty dominant as such. This is he's in one of the glamour divisions at 147, and he's practically
I think that's one of your worst takes I've heard that you have.
It depends on what you weight, doesn't it? It depends on what you weight. I go for names on the resume personally, because guys can move up and down, and you could say really Devin Haney's undisputed, so therefore he should be. But if you look at his record, he's only really beaten Camboso, so I weight it more against names myself.
I mean, the thing is, right? They put Bivol on the list to pull it off like Canelo won. Right? Would you say that's justified? And the thing is, as well, is you go Canelo, who's I suppose I can't remember his middleweight champ still, but he was the unified 168 champ. So is that the reason why Bivol was in there, because he's beat a guy who's come up in weight? That's no pound for pound. If Bivol had actually beat someone a weight class higher than him, then okay, I can maybe get the argument. But as I say, if he's only in there purely because he beat Canelo, then no, he shouldn't be there really.
It's often agenda driven as well, isn't it?
Yeah, I was going to say as well, folk, I say Josh Taylor's name at number 9 there. You would get fucking folk right now arguing that he shouldn't be anywhere near the top 10, even though he's achieved a great deal in the sport by winning an undisputed title.
But Spence is in one division, dude. Like, I'm going to start
calling Josh Taylor.
I'm going to start calling him marginal haggler.
So is Josh Taylor's only been in one division. What are you talking about?
Yeah, and he's not number 1. Neither is Spence.
But he's in the top 10. But I wouldn't have him in the top 10 because people would be arguing because he lost his last fight. He should have lost his last fight. He wouldn't have been in the top 10.
Spence is not the best fighter in the sport. He's not. And you're going to be proved wrong when they fight. But that's another story. And he's coming. I mean, Crawford has.
You told me a couple of weeks ago that there was no chance Devin Haney could go to Australia and get a fucking decision. I told you he could.
You're right. You're right. You're right on that. So I was wrong about George Kambosos. But I mean, Jesus Christ! I mean, look at it. I mean, I know that there's some weakness in Crawford's resume, but it's over 3 weight classes. You're doing this 1 weight class guy, and the comparative victory, between them that you want to go to, Porter, fucking Crawford demolished him. He fucking put him down a couple times, stopped his ass.
I'm actually shocked
He
Steve
had a
no weighed
split
in
decision.
here. I'm surprised Steve no weighed in here with the
Because he
Crawford
thinks
take
you're
it, 'cause
stupid.
I
and you
know,
don't
but
want to
everyone
show
knows.
that.
Everyone knows
is-
my take on it. I
Exactly.
would have Spence ahead of Crawford because
There
of
you go.
Crawford's opposition, as I
There you
said
go.
before.
Easy.
Not Crawford's
Dude,
skill
so-
set, because of his opposition.
So do you think that Spence is the best fighter in the sport?
I don't think he's the best fighter, no, but I'd have him. I don't know whether I'd have him above Crawford. I haven't really thought about it.
You
But
had-
I'd probably have Usyk maybe number one, I'd say.
How could you not rate Inoue above Spence?
Yeah, well, it's a good question. I don't know why. I'll have a think about it during the week.
Like
You
I
could
said,
say- you could say the same thing about NUAs.
See, Michael Thompson was right. Look at the time that we're wasting arguing about this. We're proof positive of his fucking this question.
The subjective and the narrative driven when they want to use them. So when it's a nice marketing ploy when people want to use them, but other times it can just go away. They're all subjective. If you were to speak to 100 people, I guarantee you get 100 different top 10 pound for pound lists because people judge it on different things. Some will just carry it as belts. Others will, will go on names, that sort of stuff. I mean, because you can argue then if it's just going off, belts won and weight divisions that they've gone through. When Ricky Burns was an active fighter, Ricky Burns would have been in the top 10 pound for pound. He's a 3-weight world champion, despite the fact that he won his third belt against Michele Di Rocco, who was nowhere near any sort of world champion. That's the argument that you can play. I get Matty's point about Terence Crawford. He may not have the ultimate depth to it, but he has cleaned out the two divisions prior to that, and he's ultimately now it's not Crawford's fault he has fought poor opposition at welterweight. I think he's always struggled to get an opponent in. Me personally, I would rank Terence Crawford above Errol Spence if we were doing a pound for pound ranking list. I think Crawford's the best 147 in the world. But other people will argue Errol Spence as well. It's so subjective and there's no criteria that dictates these lists. It's ultimately an opinion, and they're like arseholes. Everybody's got one.
The only thing I'd like to ask you, Oz, is do you agree that Andy's wrong that Spence is the best fighter in the sport?
I wouldn't have him as that personally. No, I'd have Inoue as one.
Thank you.
And then Usyk probably 2. I think Canelo being at 6 is harsh, by the way. A defeat against Bivol, doesn't make you a bad fighter. He's gone up to 175, a weight division too high. Does that then mean because he didn't win at that weight, he should then drop down to pound for pound 6 when he's gone through other weight divisions, cleaned out 168, cleaned out 160, 154, he's won belts at as well. For me, Canelo's probably still a top 3 or 4 fighter, without a doubt. But ultimately, no one cares about these rankings. You don't get any awards from them. You don't get anything. It's just a topic of conversation from time to time. And when somebody puts up a really dodgy top 10, it sparks debate like this. And that's why they'll always have a place in the sport. But in reality, who cares if, Joe Bloggs isn't in the top 10 pound for pound? It doesn't get them any more money. It doesn't get them a belt. It doesn't get them a ranking. It's just an opinion off some, ultimately a TV broadcast, who put them together, or a journalist or something like that.
Yeah, it depends what you like, because hated Dave Loback, do you remember he used to have Hopkins always quite high, even though he was coming towards the swan song of his career, because he said the accumulation of his best wins over his career. So it depends. Everyone has their own criteria, really.
I think you have to say it's that their current state is also a high-ranking factor, because if they're not performing at that number one level, then how are they number one? And, with Crawford, we haven't seen anything to say he's not at the height of his career, right? I mean, he just knocked out a guy who had never been stopped before at 147 pounds. Inoue it just got what you might say is the best victory of his career as well. And with Spence, I mean, he is a very good fighter. I'm not saying he's not top 10 or not top 5, but he's just not the best fighter in the sport based on current state and accomplishment. Just not there.
And I think there's a lot of people who say heavyweights shouldn't be ranked because the whole point was obviously the heavyweights are the biggest, the strongest, the hardest punchers, and it was to kind of categorize people, Matty, below them into some kind of order. So originally, I don't think heavyweights were supposed to be included, but again, who knows?
I kind of think heavyweight boxing is its own animal because you can actually, like, look at Tyson Fury. You can choose to add or subtract 15 pounds based on how you want to fight somebody. Right. And that's not something you can do at welterweight. You can't say, hey, I'm going to weigh in at 162 pounds. That's not an option. So there is something to say that heavyweight boxing is its own animal since it's 201 pounds on up.
That's not very. I don't think it's fair though. That even if you can't include a heavyweight in a top 10 pound for pound because they're up they're the heaviest they can be.
Mm-hmm.
That would then mean that as soon as Usyk decides to go up to heavyweight, right, Alexander, you'll no longer be classed in any top 10 pound for pound rankings because you are now a heavyweight. Not factoring in what he's done at cruiserweight, I think you've got to, just because they're at heavyweight doesn't mean, you could have 4 really poor heavyweight champions and therefore looking at pound for pound, that mean actually, just because they're at heavyweight doesn't mean they'd filter into these top 10. But I think when you've got a talent like Tyson Fury and Alexander Usyk, for me, those two will definitely, they're in my, if I was to do one now, they'd probably be in my top 10 pound for pound. I also think the smaller weights do get ignored. So in a way, for me, I think your hardcores will always say, in a way, it's probably top 2, 3. But those lower weights do get ignored. I'm nowhere near as knowledgeable as Andy on the lower weights. And there's probably fighters as well at flyweight who, are fantastic at what they do. But because they don't get the respect and, they've not got the profile, they're completely ignored in it. Eddie Hearn's a prime example. When he was asked about the pound for pound stuff and he was asked about Inoue, he didn't have a clue what Inoue had done prior to that. And he basically just said, it's the smaller weights, not too sure. It's all, and he basically just avoided the question. When actually, you look at what Inoue's done, there's not many other fighters that can rival that sort of career. And he has fought the best as well. And that'd be my thing. Fury can't, for me, be ranked in the top 3 at the moment because he has not fought the best in his division. Now, if he goes and beats Alexander Usyk, absolutely. Tyson Fury can't really do anything more than in his division. He's boxed everybody of note at the moment. If he boxes Usyk and wins, the tables then turn. But you can then argue, about Spence and Crawford. Until they box each other, they've still arguably not fought the toughest challenge in their division. Whereas in a way, I think he has fought everybody. I can't think from anybody from mine that who he's not boxed to, we wanted to see. I mean, we're now talking about him going up, potentially another weight. And that's what I'd judge it off personally. Can they do any more in their division? Yes. Or have they conquered it? And in a way, has conquered every division he's been in so far. So I'd have him at 1, I think. I think I would have him at 1 in a way, without a doubt.
Until he took his first L, Wang Hang Many often should have been in the top 10 pound for pound.
Oh, yeah, remember him? The GOAT.
Yeah.
54-0 before he took his first L.
Good old Mini Yothin was fighting recently, actually. Sticking at those lower weights, Andy, just quickly, Heki Budler, we were talking to fighting in Mexico next weekend. He's kind of been missing in action. His career's on the wind down now, going against Elwin Soto, last seen losing to Jonathan Gonzalez. Had that wild KO win over Katsunari Takayama as well. Out of my comfort zone a little bit. What's Budler doing with his career here? Do we see any interest in this fight?
To be honest, mate, no, because Budler was, he was champion back a number of years ago. I'm going back to the mid 2015 rate, about that era. I think minimum weight champion and that. I think he got up to light flyweight for a couple of fights and that as well. Not really been active as such. I don't think the last few years. I think he's maybe had one fight back since 2017, 2018, something like
right,
that.
Yeah.
So I don't know what to expect. And this fight's in Mexico, I believe. And Soto's an okay fighter. As I says, he pushed Gonzalez quite close. I'm sure that was one of Eddie's cards and that as well. He's been in with like Buitrago, Takayama and that as well. So and he's also got a bit of form recently as well. So I'm probably going to go with. He's also got, give Acosta his first defeat. So I'll say Soto wins. I wouldn't be surprised to see him win by knockout as well. To be honest with you, he has got a decent KO percentage as well, Soto. And again, as I said, I just don't know where Budler's. I've not seen Budler for a while actually, so I'm going to have to go and pick the more legit light flyweight at this point as well. Butler's prime was at minimum weight, and he took opportunities up at light fly just to get another shot at a belt. And again, as well, to get paid, these guys had to travel on the road to like Japan, fair bit. I'm sure Hecky did that a couple of times as well. He's had a decent enough career, Hecky Butler, I suppose, but I think this is a bit surprising, shall we say, when I seen this fight kind of come up on the schedule a wee bit. I was like, Butler, and that's when I had to go and check him out. I hadn't seen him for years, and I says it's been a fair number of years since he had his last fight, actually, I think.
Yep, he's back in action, is Butler, the same as Andy. I thought he had retired or slipped out of the limelight. Talking to people who retired and slipped out of the limelight, Aussie, next weekend, Sam Eggington's going against Przemysław Zajsk, and River Wilson Bent against Tyler Denny on the undercard. Channel 5, you might think. No, it's been transplanted over to Boxer and Ben Shalom. Eggington back on Sky taking shots. I've never heard of his opponent, Oz. He's undefeated, though. Bit of a this one's caught up on me a bit on Sky. I didn't even know it was happening.
I was going to say, yeah, do you know what? I remembered the fight being announced, but I had no idea it was coming up so soon. Yeah, it's for like an IBO world title, isn't it? It's been billed as that, a world title. I know nothing about the opponent, absolutely nothing. He's ranked 1 in Poland. Yeah, I have no idea. You would think this is an opponent for where Eggington can look good at, and Eggington's, he's rarely in a bad fight, isn't he? Even when he's getting beaten up, they're always entertaining fights, and likewise the other way when he throws big shots. Yeah, it is what it is. I know Eggington signed with Boxer now, I think, or they're doing a deal with them. So, good opportunity for him to headline and look good in Coventry. I guess the chief support is good. That River Wilson Bent against that Tyler Denny. I think it's a rematch, isn't it? It was really close
before, and it ended up on a cut or something. I think, didn't it? When on the Channel 5, that was a good scrap there.
It was, yeah, and it was really close as well. Coin flip in it. I think. From memory, I think Denny was ahead, or was ahead on, like my card for what it's worth, which is nothing. But yeah,
I agree. I think Denny was winning as well. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and then they've got that. Aside from that, the only other fight confirmed is that Corey Gibbs, who won that tournament that they do. A couple of other notable names on there. Adam Azim, like the look of him, I think he's quality. He trains with Shane McGuigan, doesn't he? I think McGuigan talks about him a lot, so serious talent there. And then that that Olympian Artingstall is making her debut as well. So again, you look at the card and there's some names on there, but it's not a good look, is it? When you're a week out, 25th of June, and you've got 3 fights confirmed. I've no doubt that these people will have opponents, but still. If I'm looking now and thinking, there's boxing on next Saturday, should I buy a ticket? And then I look at that card, it'll be no, because I haven't got a clue that anybody's boxing. They've got to make a better effort, Sky. I've given credit where it's due, on previously, they are not coming from a standing start, but they're building that stable. But these cards, particularly on the undercards, have got to be deeper. You can't just have your chief support announced and nothing else. It's not good enough for, which is, for the biggest platform for UK boxing on television-wise, that card just simply isn't good enough for the lack of fights confirmed. And let's have it right, probably the quality of opponents that are going to be coming in as well.
Well said. I was talking of fight quality and fight cards. I want to give Eddie a pat on the back, a rare occurrence for this show, but you got to give credit while it's due, Matty. And I like the look of this San Antonio card next weekend on DAZN. If you don't get over to DAZN and get subscribed, there'll be no fights for you. There is fights for Akhmadaliev. He's defending his duplicate world titles against tough but limited Ronnie Rios. We've got Jesse Rodriguez Franco, of course, Mr. Bam himself, 15-0, defending his super flyweight title after moving up. He's in against Wangek, a.k.a. Swisaket Sorungvizai. Julio Cesar Martinez and the rematch with McWilliams Arroyo. The first one ended contentiously. We've got a women's fight on there. Jessica McCaskiller against Alma
that one.
Raymond Ford, Mark Castro, Nikita Ababe. Tell you what, Babby, this is good stuff, Matty. I'm impressed with Eduardo. Pat on the back from Wellings.
Something by it. Sorry, Matt. See before you do, Steve. Right, what does Roy Keane say?
What?
About people doing their job. That's Eddie's job. They put on cards like this. He's meant to be number one promoting the sport, for Christ's sake. This is his job. This is what he should be doing week in, week out. Sorry, Matt. You want to go, mate?
No. And And the fights, Steve, for when as we're going around the horn for you, I guess considering the lack of interest that everyone had in the Butler fight, our picks this week are going to be Rodriguez and Rungvisai and Martinez and Arroyo. But I guess I'll kick it off with the women's fight with Jessica McCaskill. What was her opponent's name, Steve? I watched her this afternoon, but
Alma Ibarra.
Alma Ibarra. And she's a high motor fighter. Her only loss on her resume, I believe, was against Raquel Miller, who after that has been MIA. But there's footage of her sparring Chris Cyborg, and she absolutely dwarfs Cyborg, and she looks decent enough. I don't know what the fuck she's doing. But maybe she had a comeback fight. But yeah, she's been doing shit since then. But this could be an interesting enough fight because Ibarra does have a size advantage over McCaskill. McCaskill coming in with all 4 of the 147-pound belts that she picked off of Breakus. And I think this could be actually a pretty fun fight. Ibarra tends to square up a little bit when she's throwing, and I think McCaskill, with her better footwork, is going to take advantage of that. Probably going to end up being a 10-round fight, but I actually think that this is going to be one that should be pretty entertaining. Both these gals like to come forward. They both throw a good number of punches. And they both throw an overhand right. So look for that to be an interesting shot to happen for both fighters during this this contest. They should both be looking for that shot.
Just to add a bit of substance, Matty, to what you said there, a bit of analytical breakdown. Ibarra's nickname is the Conqueror, and she has quite a nifty BoxRec photo as well, so I thought I'd just throw that in for you.
Yeah, I think I saw it earlier. Yeah, it is fairly nifty. But yeah, should be a good fight, Steve. I'm looking forward to that one. If this fight's super wide, I don't know. I wouldn't consider Ibarra like anything like she's probably should be about a 5-1 underdog or something like that. She's not an awful fighter. Definitely experienced.
And what about the rest of the card? What we're looking at here?
What else do we have on there? Other than the Martinez Arroyo, there was another one that was in between there.
Sorung Vizay against Bam Rodriguez.
And there was another one on top of that.
Murajan Akhmadaliev against Ronnie Rios.
Yes. I expect Akhmadaliev to do very well in this fight. He's looking to show that he still matters in a 122-pound division that where Stephen Fulton is showing that he is really the cream of the crop. And I look for him to put on a really good performance against Ronnie Rios. He was a quality enough fighter, but he just, I don't know. He just doesn't trip my trigger. And I think
didn't he beat De La Hoya's nephew a few years ago? I think
he did. I think he did. And we're all thankful for that because Diego De La Hoya was fucking shitty and that needed to happen. Anyhow, I favor Akhmadaliev in that fight. And before we get to the main event, obviously, I'd say, to get, because I don't want to take your pick, Steve, because you're in the lead. Ooh. So you're going to have to pick first on Martinez versus Arroyo and Rodriguez versus Rungvisai. So I'm not going to steal your thunder there. Because I'm in last, I got to pick my shots here. I'm on the ropes, ready to fall.
Do you want me to go for it now then, Matty, yeah?
Go for it, sir.
Right, so we're going Martinez against Arroyo. That's the first one. Is that correct?
Yep.
I think Arroyo's got enough about him to last the distance, so I'm going to go Martinez on points on that one. What's the other one we're going for?
Rodriguez and Rungvisai.
Same again, Rodriguez on points. I think it'll be a tough enough ask for him because Rungvisai is very experienced, but I think he's sliding now. And over the last few years, he hasn't been fighting a regular, solid level of competition. So Rodriguez on points and Martinez on points.
Excellent. And it should go to Rob, but where's Rob, Steve? Is he still
he's
in
here?
Greece?
No,
is
he's
he
here.
Now? Oh my God. I'm in the spreadsheet. I'm talking shit about Rob.
Yeah, just caught him. Came in at just the right time. I wasn't here, so talking that shit.
Yeah, there you are, Robert Tiev. Robert Tiev every week, a new and clever name.
Go on, Matty. You do the picks then while he's on. You take over a second.
Yeah, so Rob. So you're still in second place there, homie. 5 points behind Steve. Yeah. So who do you have in Julio Cesar Martinez and against McWilliams Arroyo?
I have no, it's Rungvisai, isn't it? Martinez.
No, that's Bam Rodriguez.
Say again. What do I have?
Julio Cesar Martinez against McWilliams Arroyo.
Martinez points.
All right.
Who else do we have?
And then it's Rodriguez against Rungvisai. Who do you got between the
I
young
feel like-
man and the old veteran?
I feel like Rodriguez is going to get him out of there, actually. Don't ask me for an over-under. I don't know when it's going to happen, but I think Rodriguez wins by stoppage. Maybe late. I think he'll get him out of there.
Fantastic. And then Andy, you're next up in third place there, and you know these lower divisions. So why don't you give us a breakdown as you're making these picks?
Well, obviously we didn't know how Martinez is going to fare after getting smashed up with Chocolatito in the manner of what he did, even though he took a big step up. These two have actually faced before. I think both got dropped in the first fight. I think it got stopped in a cut. I think it was, but I agree with what Steve was saying. I think Arroyo is a very, very competent fighter. I would not. One iota be surprised if he was to if he was to get a decision here. Actually, to be honest with you, but I think I'll keep it safe and say Martinez on points. But I still think that style of fighting that he's got, it's going to have a very, very short prime shelf life, shall we say. And again, as I say, it'll be interesting to see how he fares now, going back down in weight, so to speak, but also how much of that beating that Gonzalez is actually taken out of him. So there's a kind of question mark on that one. And Rodriguez against...
Didn't he miss weight against Bam?
Who?
Martinez? Or against Gonzalez, I mean?
I
Didn't
think
he
you're
miss
right,
weight?
actually. Yeah, he did. He did miss weight.
He moved up division and he still missed weight. And I don't know. I'm kind of looking at that Andy and thinking, man, I don't know if he's comfortably making 112 pounds in Arroyo. Not the best of the division, but he has enough background, enough experience.
He's very, very good, mate. I mean, he's been in with some of the top. He's been the distance with Chocolatito. He's been the distance with Ioka. He's been the distance with Rungrong. These aren't easy fights, mate. These are not easy fights. And he's been the distance with Oilem. Okay, he's maybe never on the cards at least looked like it's been close, maybe apart from the wrong fight. But I'm telling you, mate, the guy is a competent fighter. And if Martinez is crashed the weight, hasn't done it properly, or whatever the case may be, he could come a cropper here. Actually, he really could.
Yeah, absolutely. So, all right. So you got Martinez points on. Who are you taking? Rodriguez, Rungvisai. Run that one down too. Interesting fight.
I'm gonna go with Rodriguez on points again. Rungvisai he's massive for the weight, and I was kind of surprised that Rodriguez, after beating Quadras, was staying at 115. I think he could easily go down to 108 and dominate there, and then go to 112 afterwards. But he's kept this
at 115.
I know he's kept this opportunity. He's kept this belt as such. So I've not seen Rungvisai since the Rungrong fight, and it was fucking awful. But I can recall that one. There's moments in fights where Rungvisai does not even employ a jab. It's just pure pressure. So if he does fight like that, I'm interested to see if Rodriguez can also box off the back foot. But I've said it before, Rodriguez is the future of the smaller weight classes for me. He's proved it against Quadras so far. You could say that's a faded version of Quadras. This is also a faded version of Rungvisai as well, in all honesty, to be fair. But I still think Rungvisai is tough enough, strong enough, that he will see the full 12 rounds. I'll see Rodriguez on points.
All right. Oz, who do you have in those two fights?
I'm not going to go for the glory pick, but I agree with Andy that next weekend wouldn't shock me if Arroyo gets the win. I think Martinez is all over the place. I don't think, I wonder, question his diet. He's missing weight all the time and struggling to make it. But I'm going to, I'll go with Martinez on points. And then for the other one, again, going to go with Rodriguez on points as well.
Is Martinez still in Camp Clanello with Reynoso in them, or has he ditched them now?
I can't mind, actually.
Was it Neri who ditched them?
So. I think he is with them, yeah.
All right. Well, the views from the basement are, I am going with that glory pick because fuck Martinez, because he really let me down against Gonzalez. So I'm going with Arroyo You know what? I'm even going with Arroyo as stoppage. I think there's going to be a weight drain Martinez, and I think he's just going to beat the fuck out of him.
Hell,
down
mate,
the
you are
stretch.
chasing it now, eh? You are chasing it.
Chocolatito couldn't stop him.
Nothing to lose. Yeah, but I don't think. But he's not. If he's not making the weight safely, Steve, that's a whole different thing over 12 rounds. It's having no motor over 12. That's rough. I think that he didn't make weight. Maybe he didn't make weight on purpose against Gonzalez, thinking, fuck it, if I don't get the title, I have a title at 112, and I'd like to maybe have some advantage and have this scalp on my resume. Or he's having trouble making the weight. He is kind of a little bit of a lanky fucker for, well, is he? I don't know.
I completely forgot about him missing weight against Chocolatito. Actually, you mentioned that. I completely forgot about that.
Yeah, so I'm going to Royal by stoppage. Fuck it, I got nothing to lose. Screw it.
Bit like Wurzel Gummies having a wank there, aren't you? Clutching at straws.
Yep. And Steve, I'm gonna help. I'm gonna help you with build you a buffer against second place, and I'm gonna agree with Rob on Rodriguez stoppage and doom him to being wrong. So so if all things go to plan, you should find yourself with maybe a 6-point cushion.
I know you're a keen gambler, Matty. If you ever want to lose money quick, go and take some of Smitho's tips from fucking doubles and trebles. Put up a few Royal Ascot ones yesterday. 5 of them. 5 horses, not one of them fucking even placed. And 8 places in some of the races. So people said Smitho didn't know boxing. Smitho didn't know boxing. He wasn't have a fucking job about horse racing either, because he's having killing me yesterday.
He's beginning to remind me of that Greek guy that does the MMA picks. The betting picks. He's fucking awful as well.
You know, Norm MacDonald said the reason that he lost so much money gambling is that he always had a soft spot for the underdogs. And that's why I keep myself betting like small dollar amounts and stuff on some of these long shots and shit like that. Because I do pull for the underdogs sometimes. And I do push against the assholes and the bullies.
You're going to be the underdog if you keep fucking backing losers.
Norm MacDonald died penniless, Matty.
And he died of cancer. It was all very, very terrible. But, I loved him dearly. So, I mean, that should count for something. That has more value than money, doesn't it, Steve?
One of these days, Matty, you'll learn.
One of these days you'll win.
I'm still up lifetime in sports betting. Shocking, you don't believe it. Like, because I got like money on the U.S. Open right now, and like I got $5 on Scheffler at 5-1. I got this morning, and I think he's at the top of the leaderboard. Last I looked to the right, I'm fine. I'm fine.
You're like one of those guys in Blackpool who does them little 2p machines, aren't you? With the wee book.
Compulsive. Love him in Vegas, he wouldn't it? Fucking hell.
Then I made a little bit on betting the under 8.5 rounds, which, by the way, guys, all the stuff you said, the bookies agreed with it no matter when that fight ended. They also set the line at 8.5 rounds like we did on the podcast. So, I mean, kudos to you guys for Beterbiev and Smith. That's what it was. The bookie set at 8.5. So good on you on that one. So I picked up a little bit on that. I got money off of a junk parlay that I had with just a bunch of crap on there. The Charlo fight got canceled, so they voided that out. And I make a little here, I lose a little there, and it just I just enjoy it. It makes it more interesting.
I enjoy losing money,
watching.
mate. I enjoy losing money.
It's $5. You know what? What's the matter if you lose $5 and you're all the more entertained when you're watching and you got a piece of the action?
Cost of living crisis, mate.
They're getting millions of bucks. Why can't I try to make 30?
Well, here, Matty, talking of flushing $5 down the drain, I am Big Damon Suzuki has given us $5. He says, good as always, guys. So there you go. There's a fan, Matty, you're betting.
God love him.
Better to go to us than Dead Zone or one of these characters. You know what I mean?
Dead Zone Australia, coming soon. Anyway, thank
can't
you.
wait. Fucking Edward.
Yeah. Shout out to Eduardo. Rob, sorry, Matty, have you done everyone done their picks and everything? Yeah.
So what's that,
Matty?
Andy?
I've got everything.
You in the basement just now? You're sounding kind of like far away.
I know you got to put up with the sound on these because my little one got me some earbuds, didn't she, for Father's Day? So I had to put them in, that way. So just have to fucking deal with it. I'll speak louder. How about that?
No,
you sound like you're trying to deliver coordinates to Ukraine.
Deliver us this, Rob. What about Beterbiev?
Deliver us from evil, like Father Dave. Yeah.
He's a pace, you know.
What about Beterbiev, Rob?
Yeah, but Not surprised. I don't think. I saw Eric Kelly, Big EK was on Facebook earlier, and he was slaughtering Rolly Romero and Joe Smith Jr. for not being able to make adjustments and chasing a puncher. And I made a fucking mistake, didn't I? Commenting, I was like, well, Joe Smith fights one way, doesn't he? So it's always going to be a shootout. He goes to me, you don't know boxing. He said, look at Barrera versus Hammett. Adjustments. What kind of compare? I said, I don't know boxing, but Joe's comparing one of the fucking greatest pound for pound fighters of his era with fucking Joe Smith Jr., who's a slow footed plotter and fights one way. As all right, pal. But anyway, fucking yeah. I thought it'd go that way. It happened a little bit earlier than I thought, but I thought that Joe Smith was going to go for the shootout. I mean, what else was he going to do? It wasn't as if he was going to fucking be able to box on the back foot and stay away from Beterbiev. Beterbiev was going to keep that jab. Dictating the rhythm of the fight. And Joe Smith had one chance, and that was to land something on him. And you might as well try and take it early. You don't get paid for overtime. You might as well try and take it early. I didn't think he had the fucking boxing IQ to try and set something up for Beterbiev to walk onto or set any traps that were going to make any difference in the fight. Beterbiev is a monster, man. I don't know. If there's any light heavyweight that can beat him, it was maybe Ward, and he's retired fucking 5 years. Bivol and him is a good fight. Generally, I favour the boxer over the puncher as law, but you don't know. I think I would say close to 50-50 fight, 60-40 fight, but when he gets you fucking hurt, man, he just ragdolls guys, doesn't he? He's fucking scary, scary. But Joe Smith, saying that, Joe Smith was made for Beterbiev, made for him to look good. You know, he has no fucking head movement, no real fucking remnants of a defense. He's a robot, and he with his own punch like a mule, but came to a shootout in a firefight, and Beterbiev just got him the fuck out of there, didn't he? It was happening around one. I like that Beterbiev didn't take his time, and that there was no kind of patience. Sometimes he goes through the motions to a certain point until he gets woken up in a fight, and then he's come alive. But he was at it from the fucking first bell last night. A good entertainment fight with a exciting ending. That's what you want. And you know, can System 9 now find a way to fucking fuck this all out the window? Tunde is going to be obviously over there. He was over there last night. He's taking notes, so I'm sure he's going to come up with a game plan for Anthony Yarde. But as much as I like Yarde, I think he's going to be fucking. It's going to be a big ask, isn't it, to do anything in the Beterbiev fight? Massive ask for him, because he's not exactly Will of the Wisp either. He can be hit, so taking shots like that, I don't know. But I'm again excited to see it. I think it's a really exciting fight. Yarde can punch a bit as well himself, so he brings something to the table. He'll surely give a good account of himself. I don't think he's going to fold in 2 rounds like Joe Smith. I think he might last a little bit longer. So
there's only 2 people excited for that fight: you and Anthony Yarde. I don't think his trainer likes that.
Yarde doesn't want to be too excited. I wouldn't have thought.
No, but I mean, it's interesting, isn't it? There's not that many other opponents that 75 or Beterbiev outside of Bivol. And I don't know what
Ramirez.
side of this.
I think Ramirez is a way more interesting fight than Yarde.
Yeah, maybe, but Yarde, I suppose, generates interest on this side of the pond, and you know what I mean. There's going to be, I think, Frank with Yarde, yeah. So Frank is involved there, so it's going to get a good bit of publicity on this side of the pond, and that's going to be a good build up for it. So more fans will get to see Beterbiev and that. So, yeah, I have no complaints with that fight. Obviously, I'd like to see Beterbiev build first, but if Yarde is in the way, so be it. I'm not sure what the side of this street splits are like in that landscape or whatever, but was excited. And then Robeisy Ramirez got the KO. Good technical shot down the pipe, as they say, and starting to live up to maybe some of his amateur billing as he turns pro. He's had a bit of a inconsistent start and looked a bit unimpressive at certain times, but hit him with the one-hitter quitter last night, so that was pretty good. And other than that, I don't recall seeing much else. I know Nathan Gorman, there was a Nathan Gorman card on or something. We were doing punches for the past when that was on, so I didn't see that. I don't think I missed much.
No Nathan Gorman for Rob on a Friday night. Rapping Rob Kelly's here with us though for episode 479. Ozzy's here as well, so is Matty and so is Andy, alongside me, Steve. Just before we go on to Value of the Week, sorry Ozzy, did you want to jump in there?
Yeah, we've not recapped one fight, Steve. I can't believe you forgot it.
Oh yes, of course. Go on ahead. I know what you're referring to.
Maximus.
Yeah,
Maximus.
Correct. Yeah. Mad Maximus Jenkins out in Hlukin in the Czech Republic. on Martin. Oh, I'm not even going to pronounce that last name. On one of his cards, anyway. Back to winning ways is Mad Max Jenkins with a KO victory over 0-4 Merlem Armeti. So a big. He was a Serbian, so big win for Mad Max. Armeti, lost his last 4 fights, all in the first round.
Armeti is match once again.
Yeah. He went back. Max got rid of him in the second round, and that was after he suffered defeat back in April against Norton 2 Thomas Pollack. Back to winning ways for Mad Max. Fought in front of a big booming crowd, as you can see on the picture that I put out as well. So back to winning ways for Mad Max.
Lovely stuff. Well done, Max. Matty's going to try and track that one down. Pay-per-view for you, Matt.
Oh, no. They'd have to pay me for that one.
And as well they might. Yes.
I don't know, Matty. If you had a chance to win cash on that, I think you'd be all over that sort of fight.
I tell you what, I think if he just makes the right phone call, he might have a chance of winning cash on it. You know what I'm saying here.
Yeah.
You know what I'm talking about.
Right.
You hear me? I think you hear me knocking at the ticker coming in.
Yeah. What I want to know is that I'd love to speak to him. Like, A, how the hell is he even getting these fights out in the Czech Republic? He's had 3 fights now, all in the Czech Republic. And B, what's the point? Is he going down the Prince Patel route, building up this big record? Then he's going to come back to the UK, maybe fighting a Dennis Hobson car park against Cash Ali. You could see a trilogy there. But just really bizarre. I mean, fair fucks to him in a way, like going over to the Czech Republic and stuff, but amusing. And I don't get it.
Might be more parallels with Danny Williams than the Prince there.
Might end up on Channel 5 after what we saw on Friday night, Oz.
What's wrong with Ricky Gavin? Look at this. What's wrong with him? Fucking hell. Rob's not in the basement. He's in the dog pound with Yusuf Mack. There's Ricky Gavin. Yeah.
MTK Enforcer Rick reveal there.
Rob smoking the beef.
Very much, Ricky. I thought we were boys, man. What the fuck happened? I told you I can't follow you back on Twitter, man. You're posting so much beheadings and you know what I mean? People shitting.
I've got to wait till Ricky. I've got to wait till.
Don't say I'm in the dog pound, Ricky. That's pretty much it.
I've got to wait till Ricky follows me actually on Twitter with his new account because I can never keep track of what account he's on these days. He's Ivy's fucking.
Yeah, I struggle to tag him in stuff because I don't know which account is which. But it's his account's a class. He's the best value on Twitter going. He's fucking quality.
He's career suicide.
yeah.
Good on you, Ricky. Good on you. Yeah, he said Rob's not in the basement. He's in the dog pound with Yusuf Mack for all those audio listeners. 449.
Very specific spelling on the dog pound as well. It makes me think he knows what the crack is there, Ricky.
Him and Al Bernstein been sharing that copy.
The Rob Pound.
Rob Pound. Right, let's move on anyway from her high intensity heavyweight action of Maximus Jenkins.
Move ahead, not behind.
Not behind. We shall move on to Saudi Arabia, no less. The rage on the Red Sea, Usyk versus Joshua, just before the Bellew of the week. Let's have a quick chat. Saturday, the 20th of August. It's going to be pretty hot, to tell you what, in Jeddah, Saudi Arabia. Colossal Usyk versus Joshua rematch lands in the Kingdom of Saudi Arabia. Andy, AJ attempts to reclaim heavyweight world titles in Jeddah on August the 20th. I have my opinion. No doubt the boys do as well. We'll start off with you, Andrew. What are you thinking of this? It just dropped before we went live.
Yeah, it's finally it's happening. Good to see. I think it's something similar to the first fight, to be honest with you guys, to be fair. And I actually think Usyk will get the stoppage this time. I maintain for the first fight, if he had a little bit longer in that last round, he could have taken Joshua out. And it looked like he was pressed for a knockout, to be honest with you. I'm not too sure yet about the Robert Garcia hookup. I mean, they seem to have only got this confirmed in the last few days, maybe the last week or so. You've got 2 months to the fight, and I don't know what changes you can make with Joshua over 2 months. To be fair with you, if you're looking to kind of change a guy's fundamentals, for example, you need at least a year with him. I can remember when Ricky Burns went to Billy Nelson. Ricky was a purely technical fighter, kind of like move run about the ring. Billy then changed him into a more aggressive kind of fighter, kind of standing his ground a wee bit, and that took time. It took time for Ricky to kind of really kind of pick up on that. I just don't see what Joshua can do differently that to win this fight, unless he just lands something like a straight right hand that catches Usyk with his chin in the air, for example, and he just turns his lights out, something like that. I mean, guys like Bellew, for example, who really should be saying better. I think everybody said the same. There is no point in Joshua walking in there like fucking George Foreman did against Jerry Cooney, will walk right up to him and try and bang it out because he'll gas. If he was to do that, I would give Joshua no more than 4 or 5 rounds before he's out of gas. He's also fighting in a country that's fucking going to be red hot. So you've no idea what the weather could be like on the night. It could be really warm. Maybe struggle to get a breath. Who knows?
What wasn't good enough for the World Cup is good enough for a heavyweight fight.
And as for Usyk, the question marks I have about Usyk really would be: look, he's lost all the gains that he made going up to heavyweight because of the war. He seems to be in fighting shape again anyway. So I'm just a wee bit kind of not so much concerned, but I'm just interested to see where he's at physically in that, obviously as well, because obviously he's not a fight now for over a year, just almost a year. And I just think obviously he's been in camp now for a few months, Usyk. So it looks like according to the pictures at least, it looks like he's got his gains back. It looks like he's ready to fight. Still 2 months to go as well, so obviously still work to do. But the question mark for me is does Joshua manage to do something differently with Robert Garcia, and will he change his approach? I don't think he will change his approach. I think mentally he knows now that he's mentally fragile is probably the wrong word to say in that, but he knows himself. He knows that he can be hurt, he can be knocked out, he can be stopped. And I think he knows himself actually. He's fighting an elite southpaw who just does not stop. Does not stop with the head movement, keeps his hands going, the footwork's far superior to what Joshua is. Joshua fights in straight lines for me. Jab, right hand, he'll bring in the left hook and the right uppercut from time to time in that as well. But as Ali says, your hands can't hit what your eyes can't see. I think Usyk would probably just dance around about him this time. And as I said, I think he'll go for a late stoppage actually.
Rob, I'm not sure what you can teach AJ at this point. Robert Garcia's introduction might get a different voice in the corner, a few different strategies, but can he implement them? That's the question.
Well, if you're an avid listener and you go back to when we were talking about suggested trainers for AJ, I was one of the ones that was saying Garcia. I think it'd be a good pick. Nothing other than I can't base that on anything else other than his interviews with ES News over the years, where you get a good insight into how he reads fights and that. I think he obviously had a fucking racehorse with Mikey Garcia, but he definitely helped fighters that he got mid-career make really good improvements, made Anna being a good case in point. Now, I know AJ's a heavyweight, but my cynicism around this, or how I'm a bit skeptical, is that Garcia's coming in one of these advisory roles, isn't he? So there's the campus full of about 100 people, we all have a voice. I'm not sure how much of an impact he can make. And, sometimes trainers are hired guns. Freddie Roach, Manny, all of them couldn't be accused of that over the years, taking fighters because the bread is there. I'm not begrudging Robert Garcia for taking the opportunity to earn that kind of money in one of the biggest fucking heavyweight fights. Biggest money-generating heavyweight fights of the last few years. It's an interesting one. It's shit or bust for AJ, really. This own deal is done. Big flex from Eddie, big flex from Flex. But what's the fucking going to be worth if he gets fucking knocked out and stopped by Usyk? His stock is going to plummet like fucking Bitcoin, innit? So, I can't see another result. I think if he fights Usyk 100 times, he loses each time. I just can't see a way that he wins. Obviously, heavyweight boxing, the old cliche, one punch can change everything. AJ can definitely punch. But even at AJ at his best, which was probably the Vladimir Klitschko fight, he still had moments of vulnerability in that fight and could have been stopped if it was up against the younger Vladimir. Now, he didn't. He comes through it and he gets the credit for that. But we're a couple of years past that, at this stage, and he's not active. He doesn't fight that often. He fights maybe once a year, twice a year max over the last 3 to 4 years. He's in it for the big bucks. I think it was a bit of a cash out of the zone deal, to be honest with you. But just on the fight itself, I can't see him beating Usyk. No chance.
Matty, I'm just looking at the poster there, actually. Usyk looking resplendent with his little tash going on. But one omission from this is DAZN itself. Rob's put it perfectly there. He signed with DAZN. He's this big flag bearer. An instant loss isn't going to look good for them. But you've subscribed to DAZN. Is there going to be any fights for you? Is this fight going to be there for you? It's not on the poster.
I sure hope so, because and I thought AJ had that, till he dies deal with Eddie. So we're going to get really screwed as subscribers if this isn't part of the package, and they want us to pay for Canelo Golovkin 3. It's rough times, Steve. But as far as the fight goes, here's a question for you, Steve. Who is undefeated in rematches?
He's already had one, has he?
Floyd.
No, two.
What was the second one?
Dillian. He beat Dillian White in their rematch, and he beat and also Andy Ruiz. Yeah,
He never had a rematch with White.
He fought him in the fucking amateurs. He fought the amateurs.
No, they fought twice. They fought twice.
No, it's pros.
Yeah, they did.
No, they didn't. They only fought once as pros, haven't they? Yeah.
Joshua Newton White, no, they only fought once, mate.
They fought as an amateur.
Amateurs.
As a pro, yeah.
I thought they fought twice as pros.
No,
not that I can remember.
But there was talk about a rematch, I think, at one point. But
yeah,
no,
it never happened.
Are you sure?
Dillian might have thought it happened after that Povetkin shot, Matty.
I don't know. Maybe I don't know.
Didn't happen, Matty.
I'm calling Mandela effect on this one.
No, it never happened, dude.
Let's pretend it didn't happen, Matty. Anyway, carry on with your analysis.
But anyways,
put the bong in.
Anyways, he is undefeated in rematches, so kiss my ass, even if that's one.
In rematch, singular.
No, you're right. Holy shit! I'm calling fucking. I'm calling a
dementia
Mandela effect on this one, because I thought because he got wobbled in the fight that they had a rematch.
Put the weed down, mate. Start on the spot.
That seems like the
thing that,
get the papers. Because that seems like the thing that Eddie would do. Anyways, wow.
We need you to piss in a cup, Matty, quickly. Come on.
What a moment in time. Well, fuck, that's going to go terribly for everyone involved. But anyways, there's a lot riding on Usyk in this one. What you have to consider in this is what he experienced in the few months there that he spent during this war, and the weight that he has to feel going into the ring. And I don't think that's a good combination. I don't know. I think Joshua's going to go in there and rough him up. I think Joshua's going to stop him.
Ben Russell says
you are smoking some weapons.
Matty turned into Mark Tibbs.
No, I don't know what the fuck I swear to God they fought twice.
Wait, I was going to say something.
What's his name again? What's my man's name again?
To be fair, I didn't expect this to be a conversation, so I don't even have any notes on this from fucking at all.
Well, it's a conversation about to end, Ozzy. Finally, with
you do notes on the other ones, you do.
Thank Christ.
Ozzy, I can't see any outcome apart from Usyk stopping at AJ in the rematch. I just don't see any way AJ wins, which is stupid considering he's a big guy. He's got good wins on his resume. He can clearly punch. I just think the only difference will be Usyk will stop in this. I'm going for 9th round stoppage.
Yeah, I agree on the stoppage, but I think it'll be earlier. I think it'll be round 6 or 7. I'm not saying Usyk boxed within himself in the first fight, but I thought he boxed quite a risk-free fight. I think from memory, he hurt Joshua in the first, but never jumped all over him and jumped in. I think this time round, he knows what Joshua's going to bring. He knows what Joshua can do. I think Garcia coming in isn't to change anything, isn't to necessarily, a change of style, but probably just getting Joshua going back to what he did best, and that was being on the front foot, being aggressive. It comes with a risk of getting knocked out, but we all saw in the last fight that Joshua, he as good as box without a game plan because he tried to outbox the master boxer and it didn't end well. I thought McCracken's taken a lot of flack actually for somebody who's developed Joshua into the fighter he was. But if you look at I can't see Joshua busting him up. For where Matty said, he's going to get him, he's going to stop him. I just can't see it. I can't see how. I don't think Joshua can. I say it hurt him. Don't get me wrong. It's heavyweight, and if anybody lands a punch at that weight, you can be hurt. But I just think Usyk's too clever. I think he'll box on the move. It'll be interesting to see what weight Joshua comes in at. I think the only way realistically he's going to beat, he's going to blast him out of there. So I wonder if he's going to come in a bit heavier and try and basically, bully him, use that weight to an advantage. Because it's all right, you can be 350 pounds, but if you don't know how to use your weight advantage, it's pointless. And that's something that Tyson Fury does extremely well. He's taller and he's heavier, but he uses those advantages. I think
AJ hasn't shown that he can fight on the inside, though, can he? Has he?
He's got that uppercut,
thing
man. He's got that uppercut. He really does have one of the better uppercuts in the heavyweight division.
I see a WS knockout for Usyk, stopping Joshua, acclimatizing of taking big shots and fatigue as well. I just don't see it. I think the positive thing is that the pictures that came out of Usyk in camp, he looks in fantastic nick already, and he's not just starting his camp now. He's been in camp for a while. He's in great shape, probably similar shape to what he was in the first fight. And I thought what was quite telling is that Usyk said that, he didn't rate himself particularly highly in that performance. And he said that the game plan was not to jump all over him, but he felt he could have got him out of there. And I think this time round that, I'm not saying they won't risk it going to the cards, because the cards were a hell of a lot closer than I liked it. I certainly thought it should have been. But I think they know they can get him out of there now. Joshua, does carry a bit of threat, but I just can't see. I cannot see. I think Usyk is just a bad style matchup for him. Really bad. Puts his hands together quite quickly, can box and move. Andy Ruiz caused him a hell of a lot of problems because he threw in quick combinations. Joshua just couldn't see them coming. The rematch, we talk about the rematches, but look at the state Ruiz was in. He was like literally fat as a pig, been dining out on tacos, pizza, chips. Oh, I know, I know. He was an absolute disgrace, big belly boring over his shorts. He was. So I don't give, everyone was giving Joshua credit for that performance. I disagree on that because he basically just kept him on the end of a jab because Ruiz couldn't get anywhere near him because he was just unfit. But no, I think this is a bad matchup. I think the appointment coming in is just probably to try and refine some skills. They're not going to teach him anything new now at this stage of his career. He's not got the time, and they couldn't risk not taking the rematch as well, because if he doesn't take the rematch, that's him frozen out of the title situation for a long time. But there's a lot of money riding on it. DAZN have announced this massive deal. I do expect it to land on DAZN. I can't see them splashing that sort of dough on Joshua for it then to go and end up on Sky Sports. It's just going to be another, news snippet that they'll confirm the broadcaster, in a week's time. But finally glad it's happening. There's been a lot of talk about it. It's coming. A date's finally confirmed. Can't necessarily I agree with the place it's in. You see a lot of criticism from Saudi. It's all aimed at, like Newcastle and from the football side. Yeah, I hope the same hate goes towards Joshua and Usyk as well, actually, and Matchroom, choosing to take that fight there. Yes, they're willing to put up a load of dough, but if you disagree with what they do, that doesn't mean you need to go there just because they're willing to pay, a few quid. But that's probably another conversation. But bad matchup, and I only see one outcome, and I think Usyk gets the business done in round 6 or 7.
I remember Eddie stating on the MMA hour, was it that Art Helwani, I think his name was, and he stated, and I quote, he says he was looking at May time this year. Obviously, we knew there were some problems, and obviously the war kicking off, music hadn't left the country yet or whatever it was. So, but Eddie did say, so in May time we're planning to do this fight, and it'll be done in the UK. So, and then Eddie obviously come up with the comment saying as well, it's in the contract that it's got to go to the place that makes the most financial sense. So obviously that is just fucking materialised in the contract apparently, or Eddie's reread it or something. But that fight was meant to happen in the fucking UK. At least that was the plan, at least.
It's a 50-50 split as well, isn't it, this time round? So financially for Usyk, it's massive, absolutely huge. I mean, for Joshua, look, he's made enough money already, but you can ultimately never have enough of it. If you can get paid, do it. But yeah, it's one of those. It's going to be. I'll be keen to see the undercard. That's for sure. I always think, with these big shows, the undercards struggle. It's going to be interesting to see what he does with the undercard because, will we see, missing in action Callum Smith potentially reappear? I don't know, but yeah, I am glad it's announced. I'll certainly be watching it. The first fight was definitely full of intrigue. Wasn't the shock that some people had it as, given that I think we all picked Usyk to win. I just think the method of victory will be different this time round. And after that, where does Joshua go after that? If he gets stopped off Usyk badly, where does he go? That Tyson Fury fight then, does it materialise? People would still watch it, but I think Joshua's struggling if he does get beat. I think it's as good as a must win. This isn't, like Canelo Bivol, where, you're trying to do something great and go up. I'd argue that his career is not on the line as such from where if he loses, he can't come back. But it's going to be really difficult to build him up unless he just goes down the route of, potentially looking to fight Dillian White again or something like that. But
then it'll happen. Then, yes.
You mean for the third fight, Ozzy, the trilogy?
Well, no, no. I think did Matty get confused in that they had one in the amateurs and then one as pros?
No. I honestly remember 2 fights in the pros. I'm claiming different realities.
Right. Well, you could have just agreed with me then, and you'd have had a reasonable excuse. But the fact is, you've just admitted that you thought they boxed twice.
I own my mistakes, Oz.
This is the Barker never fought Sturm of the generation, isn't it? TBE Alex Morris back in the day.
It's probably true enough, eh?
Not to worry. Yeah, all done, Oz, yeah?
Weird times.
Yeah.
Where does Rob go?
Oh, I don't know. I think we can hear him better now that he's gone. Good old Rob. Come back soon.
Honestly, I think that's where he would go if he lost, would be the Dillian White fight. I think at that point in time, and then they'd probably both cash out after that.
Wilder,
the way Amir Khan and Kell Brook just did, kind of like that.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, we wish them well. On to Belly of the Week for episode 479, and then we shall get out of here on another Sunday evening. Rob's gone, but Ozzy's still here alongside Matty, Andy, and me, Steve, leading us in this weekend. Didn't quite get the whole clip that I wanted, but Andy alerted me to Eddie going in. He comes in peace, no aggression this time. He's taken over the UK. He's taken over America. What left? The moon. He's going down under to Australia, Eddie, and he's telling yarns.
And this main event is a great example of what we're trying to do. Sometimes it's very easy to make individual fights that don't really mean a lot. When I looked at Liam Paro, number 1 in the world, right at the foot of the World Championship shop, coming early, probably in 2023, no need to take risk, really. But if we want to make great fights, if he wants to be a star, you need to make great all-Australian fights. Brock Jarvis, I think, despite being also extremely handsome, which is difficult for me sitting next to him, I have to be honest with you, but what a fighter, what a talent. You've got Jeff Fennick here, one of the legends of not just Australian boxing, but world boxing. Great characters involved here in this main event. And it's such an intriguing fight, because I've got to give you a little bit of background to this fight, because I think it's important. The camps know each other very well. Angelo Di Carlo is the godfather, I believe, to Jeff Fennick's daughter, and vice versa, I believe, But the great thing is, it was almost like a call your bluff moment. I sat down with Angelo and Alfie and I said, I think that Liam Paro against Brock Jarvis is an incredible fight for Australian boxing. And Alfie and Angelo said, look, it's not going to happen because, we're all friends here and almost family. Then I spoke to Jeff Fennick, and Jeff Fennick said, yeah, we'll have that fight.
It wasn't like that, guys.
Jeff, let me just tell my version first.
Yeah, tell your version, okay.
And Alfie said, No one actually said any of this, but it's a great story. Alfie said, I can't believe they've taken the fight. It's a liberty. We've built ourselves to number one in the world.
Honestly, Christ. Oh, full on bullshit mode merchant, that one, wasn't it? Eh? Christ's sake, as I says, he comes in peace. Been aggressive all around about the world. Oh, mate, and just to see Jeff Fennick just fucking stamp his card by saying, that's bollocks, mate. That just did not happen. So it was fucking tremendous.
Good stuff from Eduardo going down under. Ebony Bridges might turn up on that undercard. These guys might turn up. Tim Boxeo tweeting out, heavyweight fight of the weekend has weighed in from Cleveland thanks to Bay Brothers Promotions. 6'10" 380 Armonte Summers, 1 and 2, faces 6'3", 378 Dajuan Calloway, 3 and 1, in a bout scheduled for 6 rounds. Mickey Bay, great fighter, Andy, and great promoter now, seemingly as well.
Jesus Christ, mate. Armonte Summers, this used to be called a mountain Summers. Fucking size of that guy, man. Fucking 380 bills he is. He almost 400.
This story actually took a turn for the bizarre because after this, Tim Boxeo sent me in a follow-up clip. It's actually quite sad. This young fellow on YouTube has made a video called The Truth About Armonte Summers, the 6'10" behemoth, and he calls him a big fat pig, a useless boxer, and accused him in this rant of going with his mom and treating her badly. So Armonte Summers has not got much going for him.
So please, Mom, if you're reading this description, please kill that dude, like chop his head off or something, please.
Jesus Christ. That's over the top. Fucking A.
Armonte.
That picture of that, man, that reminds me of when Shaq and Kevin Hart were on the roasted Justin Bieber.
Fuck's sake.
He in that thingy description, he said he broke the ceiling as well. That's some going that.
Why am I standing on it?
I was going to say, yeah, he must have done, yeah. And now he's doing animal abuse to my mum's cat. Then the ceiling broke, and he wishes that my mum is dead. More chaos brung with me, my sister, and my mum. And that gay man she brought, he starts annoying me and stuff like, I don't want to deal with that man. He's ugly and he's nasty in front of us. Fairing and stuff. I don't like it. I don't know if it's body function. Gregory Kelly. I think he's got a couple of personal issues, hasn't he?
I think so, going in on poor Armonte. Well, I'm not going to tackle Armonte, that's for certain.
I'll tell you what, though. I think Armonte Summers or is it Dajuan Calloway, future Maximus Jenkins opponents.
Channel 5 coming to use near soon.
Yeah, absolutely.
If Tim Boxeo's out there, let us know who won because Boxer can't got it updated. We'll give you an update next week, or maybe a Gregory Kelly update.
Hey, if that kid took him to court, would it be an Armani suit?
Oh no!
I didn't even hear the setup, and I know that stinks.
Rob's back with us. Let's move on. The first ever KSW chess match is taking place. Artur Spilka versus Radchenko. So there you are. Last seen Matty getting knocked out by Chisora, by Wilder. He's taken to chess now as Spilka in some kind of MMA event. So you can get on board with that.
Rename him Gary Kasparov or Kasparov, whatever his fucking name was.
What the fuck is going on here?
This is mad, isn't it? Spilka. Real fucking chess player in the ring he was.
So he not being the terraces at Liggy Warsaw fucking chanting racist or something like
That's
that?
right, he was a former hooligan, wasn't he?
Yeah, that's right.
He fought young Joe Joyce in the amateurs. Joe Joyce was young Joe Joyce. In the amateurs, not Joe Joyce, the pro. Yeah.
This was unexpected. I wish I had something. I just, Spilka playing chess. Okay, then.
Talking to Joyce's, what about the other Joe Joyce here, Rob? William McNamara. Umar asked Joe Joyce how he sees a fight with Fury playing out, and his response was, Fury's going to have to knock me out or outpoint me.
Yeah, well, I suppose he's not telling any lies there, is he? Joe Joyce shooting from the hip.
Good old Joe Joyce.
He was shitting on Joshua, was he not?
Was he?
I'm sure he was.
Oh, yeah, I think he was,
actually. He was shitting on Joshua, aye.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, good man. Up Joyce.
Maybe Sam Jones has had a word with him to start calling people and just destroy them a wee bit.
I don't know if Sam Jones is involved anymore, is he?
Is he not?
Someone said he might have sacked him off. I could be completely wrong there.
Involved in what?
Anyway, Jamal Charlo, drunk as fuck at the club last night, and it was supposed to be fight week for him, but Charlo hurt his back and pulled out. No fighting for Charlo there, Andy, against Selecki, but he looked like he was wasted. It wasn't water in that cup anyway.
No, I seen that, mate. I did see that. Just loving his good life, though, mate, isn't it? That's what he's all about. But yeah,
Many a man has thrown their back out in the club. Let me tell you.
This is at least 2 or 3 times now we've seen clips like this. I don't know if it's well, certainly the two brothers were turned apart. It was a couple of weeks back. Somebody said they turned up for a fight, and Bayford gassed. On that Henny again, I think.
They're like the Henny, don't they? They're like the hen dogs, the Charlos.
The worst thing about this is, though, Andy, you could say, "Oh, the Selecki fight, I'm not going to miss that. I don't care whether it happened or not." They'll just reschedule it now. We'll have to wait another 6 months.
That is the worst part of it. So instead of like maybe fighting, I don't know, show a name at the top end of the division there. But no, you're right, mate. I went up pulling in Selecki again. Oh, this time it's personal. We got all the bullshit in the background. Selecki about complaining that he ducked me, faked an injury, he's out in the piss, that type of thing. So it's got the narrative there. It's got all the backstory that Bean would say.
Exactly.
Rob sounded like the BBC News war reporter there.
Yeah, regular Trevor McDonald me.
Moira Stewart.
Moira Stewart. Would you know? Anyway, come on.
Gosh, must be about 90.
Done worse, mate.
Yeah. ITV boxing. Attention boxing.
I had a joke. We'll go after the show.
We'll go after. Attention boxing fans. We've got a documentary coming up if you won't want to miss, with interviews from Eddie Hearn, David Hay and more. Against the odds, Tony Bellew. Dominic Hendry says, why can't ITV just respect the poor fella's wishes and leave him alone to enjoy retirement? Manasseh, Andy says, bloke would literally turn up at the opening of Papa John's.
They're only calling it that because Forrest Gump was already taken.
It's clear that ITV have got the same researchers that the SAS have got to try and get hold of Bellew, by the way, for TV shows, eh? So, I'm telling you, mate. When I seen the... When is this?
You're coming through with a little fucking torch on the end of a bit of wood into a cave to try and find Bellew. He's just fucking hiding in there, isn't he? Can't be found.
Can't be found.
No surprise to hear Chukwu's on the Moira Stewart chain anyway. He's woken up just in time.
Moira Stewart was still getting chopped.
Oh, Chukwu, man. For fuck's sake.
Inside the distance, there's Chukwu. Inside the distance. Put him down for the under.
Oh, good old Chukwu.
She's 72. I just checked her out. She's 72.
Oh, she's only 72?
That's doable.
Shout out to Moira. Michael Mack has nominated Vic Glazer. There's some great guys in boxing, and I'm proud to do business with some real quality guys around the world that trust my boxing mind, want to see me earn, pay for my services in a timely fashion, and thank me for a successful result. Soaring with the Eagles at glazerboxing.com. Matty, what on earth does this guy do?
I don't know. The fact that he gets paid,
does he though?
I think he does. And that makes me disappointed. Like you'd think we'd pull in more in super chats than he could make in a wage. I think we provide more value than Rick Glazer. But that's just my opinion. I don't know. What do you think, Steve?
I don't know what to think about Glazer, Andy. I mean, the guy's an absolute anomaly.
What is he actually? What does he do? What does he do? I mean, he's not getting that.
Matchmaker.
He's not getting that.
Soaring with the Eagles.
It sounds like you're scoring with the Eagles too there, Rob.
He might be like the Phoenix soon, where he fucking flies too close to the sun or something here. Icarus. Fucking soaring with the Eagles is right.
Okay, Icarus.
Well, I'm bringing us some Greek mythology, Andy. Go on, Rick Glazer.
Oh, fucking hell. Rick Glazer, mate, yeah. You want to see me earn, pay for my services in a timely fashion, and thank me for my successful result. Well, what is these services? What does he do? I mean, for what I heard the last time, at least, he was caught up in a fucking lawsuit with Serafina, I think, apparently steal one of her fighters, Andy Peterson, I think it was. And Sarah was not having it. She was not having it. Yeah, we're Team Sheena.
Team Fina.
Or Fina, right? So Here we go, the fastball.
Yeah, I didn't get it
cut
cut because I knew we would have got iced. But anyway, Julius
Right.
Francis has been retired 16 years, but those guys had no clue they were messing with the former British and Commonwealth heavyweight champion. Last thing to go is the power. Quite a few people nominated this one, Andy. Like I said, they would have iced us on YouTube, but I mean, Julius has still got it.
See, the thing is, that wasn't even a proper right hand he threw. That was is what we call a fastball. You know, a slight overhand right. It wasn't you know yourself, mate. You're taught when you go into a gym to fucking punch through the target, right?
Mm-hmm.
If fucking Julius Francis had punched through the fucking target, that whole pavement would have been redecorated with that guy's fucking blood. So he just got a fastball. That's all he got. Just practically, he took a slap basically, and that was enough to ice him. Can you imagine if you fucking hit him a proper right hand? Fucking hell! Oh mate, it was quality. And you see,
good tap, wasn't it?
He slunk off to the side. He slunk off to the side and said, "Right, okay, I'm going to have my moment with this cunt. I'm going to get him face to face. Let him see him walk round the cooking crowd." The next minute, the camera pans in, and he's like, "Okay, let's fucking have it."
Julius, let's see what else we've got. A few more videos before we do that. We have another photo here.
Sorry, see Chuck Woo's put up there. Serafina is sexy. Always Captain Current Affairs, Chuck Woo, and he's fucking right on the cutting edge. Newsflash.
He's just saw the video of her at the Triller show, Bob.
That's
yeah.
Line though, yeah.
That's why I had to go, Steve. It was Triller related there, where I jumped off the call. Bleak is doing a Triller battle, isn't he? A versus battle on Triller against that guy Joel Santana. That Serafina was smiling when he did the little pad on the song. So if I go to the show, I could get a chance to meet Serafina. So I'll be reporting back live from the pod on holidays as usual.
Absolutely, Rob. Wouldn't expect anything less. Shannon Courtney getting nominated next. She tweeted out or Instagrammed or whatever it was, "Never reveal your next move. A fish with a closed mouth never gets caught."
Oh, I wish Ozzy was here for this one. Like
deep, that isn't it? Deep, like the fish in the pond. That is. What the fuck's he talking about?
You were certainly gear that looked like you just jumped out the pond here, didn't you? What are you talking about?
Is she one of them ones that thinks everyone's trying to ruin her life? You know those ones, the boys that when they're talking. Yeah, this one is fucking. I'm gonna have to keep me
talking
the enemies close, friends close to me, enemies closer with this one. Yeah. All right, trying to ruin your life. Fuck off.
Good old Shannon. And I think it was Charlie Taylor who nominated that one. Next one here, we've got Christopher Lovejoy nominated by Joe Kennedy. Joe Kennedy actually was at the Beterbiev fight last night. I should have tried to get him on, but it's too late now. Christopher Lovejoy said, "Busted 3 nuts this morning. I'm in the gym like it's nothing." He's keeping us updated on his sparring, Andy, his sex life. When's he going to be back in the ring, Lovejoy?
Oh, mate, I just want to see if he can still throw a fucking right hand for a change, you know? Who was it? It told me he wasn't throwing it. It was Buddy McGirt, wasn't it? Aye, fucking hell. Busting 3 nuts.
3 nuts is so hard.
He doesn't take himself too seriously, though, does he? Well, I suppose you can't if you're him.
Someone want to tell him the pandemic is over now. Trying to get back to fucking normal. We busting 3 nuts in the morning. Like, save yourself.
DAZN Boxing, simply the best. Only in DAZN. Garcia, Canelo, Joshua, Taylor, Triple G. The biggest boxing lineup. Nang 2942 has nominated them for that one. What about this then? Matty. Forget about Floyd with the metaskeletons. Manny Pacquiao. No. I'm excited to start my own NFT collection. Pacman.dog. Check out the website and join us on this journey.
Fucking hell.
What the fuck is that image?
It's like a dog.
Pacman.dog pound, baby.
Blowing bubblegum?
Yeah, I think so.
Well, yeah. NFT in this situation for me stands for not fucking taken, Steve. This is shit.
Matty does know a sure thing when it comes to betting that, so he knows if he's not going to be betting on this one, it's not going to take off.
It's only a matter of time before Manny ends up getting sued by a Paul brother himself. It's don't follow in Floyd's footsteps.
ESPN ringside, Nico Ali Walsh, Muhammad Ali, divine timing with my favourite fighter. Rob 1138035 has nominated ESPN for that one. Here we go, Andy. I'm Nico Ali Walsh to this guy, as Ozzy would say. Them tats are an absolute disgrace. We spoke about him earlier, but I mean, what on earth was that guy thinking?
What's he done at your skin, man? What the fuck? See, when I saw him, my mind automatically went back to that Billy Graham story about the guy who was trying to cover up his tattoos on his arms, but he used paint. Just didn't use fucking paint, though. He used fucking gloss. This is the kind of thing I was thinking about as well when I seen this cunt. Let's take that. He actually paid someone to do it to his body, man. Think about this for a second here.
Imagine the amount of hours he must have spent sitting through that.
Fuck, it must be agony. He's fucking full. That entire left arm and right across his shoulders is completely green. With green ink. Why?
Irish Aaron Chalmers, that's his name, isn't it? He's off Geordie Shore, isn't he? So that's fucking explaining a lot of it, I think. You know?
You fucking nick it.
Good luck for him. I just thought it was a giant birthmark when I saw it first, but then
Oh, well. Dominic Henry is nominated this one. Frank Warren, me next. I'm going to do that to him. Anthony Yarde reacts to Beterbiev.
Fucking hope.
Fucking hell. Hey, remember, Yarde got knocked out of a fucking jab, by the way, right? You any idea how after Beterbiev throws a fucking jab? Jesus Christ.
It's not going to end well.
It'll be a doking. That's what it'll be. Fucking.
Rob thinks it's going to be a good fight.
I think I said I'm excited for the fight, asshole. I didn't say it was going to be a good fight.
Well, it might be. You never know. Boxing news.
He come to fight, won't he? Be a bit of a fucking shootout. What about it? Come on.
Let's get on board. Boxing news said who at all around light heavyweight can beat Artur Beterbiev, and here he comes, Mr. Rimlick himself, Tony Bomber Bellew. He's very, very good, and I was massively impressed with the job he done on Joe Smith last night, to be honest. However, I'm going to say this, and everyone is going to laugh. Canelo will beat him.
He was right. We did laugh. Good for you.
Have you ever fucking kill him? Well, here's one for you. Even head. See Ellerby and fucking De La Hoya for the last while. They keep on criticizing Eddie, which he loves. He can really take a bit of criticism well, Eddie. They keep on saying, like, what a stupid business decision. You moved them up to get beat. But if you go back and listen to it in a week, in the build-up to the fucking Canelo Bivol fight, he's saying, he's criticizing Yarde. I gave him £1 million. I want him to fight Joshua Buatsi or whoever the fuck he wants him to fight. And I've news for him. There's no fight for him because when Canelo beats Bivol, he's going to unify against Beterbiev. So talk about wanting to get Canelo beat. You want to get him killed. Fucking hell.
He also admitted that he cherry-picked Bivol for Canelo, by the way. Let that sink in. Because his last two performances were proof that what he did against Canelo, he could never foresee that happening, to be honest. Even Ed.
Eddie and Bellew. Also, we have here Sky Sports Boxing Demolition Man Artur Beterbiev is now a 3-belt champ after flooring Joe Smith Jr. 4 times before winning by second round stoppage. Mr. Donny J jumped in. With respect, Smith Jr. isn't even in the top 5 in the division. Callum Smith beats Beterbiev in a close fight. Man like Chin disagrees with that one there.
I expected Bellew to come out with Callum Smith's name rather than Canelo, actually, to be fair. So
Callum Smith's going to do amazing against Beterbiev. You mark my words, mate.
He fucking said Callum Smith would beat Canelo as well.
Anfield.
Aye.
At Anfield, mate. Beterbiev comes to Anfield.
Oh dear.
Can you imagine those mad Chechen fuckers going about Liverpool, man? Fuck me, there'd be rivers of blood. Jesus Christ.
Right, final couple from me. I have a couple of videos. This was sent in last week by Take Ames, who has also sent me in for something for this week, but I'll actually play that next week because I didn't get it in time. So we're a week about here, Ames. I'm a bit like Chuckwu, trying to catch up with you. But this was sent in by Michael Hunter. It's a bit Malik Scott, parental advisory. He's showing us some of his stomach moves ahead of his aborted fight with Hughie Fury.
I tell you what, the last time I seen a human being do that, my wife was giving birth to her firstborn.
It looks like me at my age when the missus says she was around too.
Last time I saw a human being do that, I slammed the door, and that was the last time I saw that bitch.
Who was that, actually?
Michael Hunter.
Oh, right, fucking hell.
like me psyching myself up for work on a Monday morning. Come on, do it. Do it.
Try to take a shit, man.
Good old Hunter. Opponents should be very afraid, I would imagine. And the final one I've got here, Martin from New Age Boxing put this up earlier, but Ricky Graville asked me to cut it. I know he had another one to cut, couldn't get it done in time. Ricky, please see previous comment about Ames's. I'll get it up for next week, hopefully. But you never know; it is a bit of a struggle these days. Here's Carl Froch talking to the TWS podcast. I'm not really sure what he's talking about, but let's enjoy it anyway.
See the moon and you can see the sun with your naked eye.
Yeah.
You can see that they're in the sky, and they look the same size, don't they, when you look at them?
Mm-hmm.
But one of them's 94 million miles away, and one of them's 237,000 miles away. But they look the same size. So I'm not convinced that that's perfectly distanced away to look the same, and we get a perfect eclipse, if you like. I think they orbit us, and they're around us, and we're the centre. Well, I don't think we are. I'm just not convinced we're not either way. But if we're flat and stationary, and from what we can see with our own eyes, it looks to me like we're sitting still, and the sun and the moon go around us. And when it looks like it goes behind the curve of the earth, it's just actually going further away. A little bit similar to when you stood on a flat road, and you've got street lamps, and say you're stood in the middle of a road, and you're looking at the street lamps. The street lamp that you're stood next to is above you, and you're looking up at the light. And as you look down the flat road, the lights get lower and lower and lower and lower into the distance, but they're all the same height, but they look to go further away. That's the angle of refraction on your eye. That's your vanishing point as them lights go away.
He's dead serious too as well, eh?
You missed the clip. He had a bit of 9/11 in there as well. He was a bit of COVID conspiracy. He's actually sounding fucking like a decent guy. I think I got on with him a lot.
I on the other side sit here and I listen to that and look back at the last few years. I'm like, we came this far just to deny medical science and go back to a time before Copernicus. Let a fucking meteor come and end this fucking shit now. We're one step away from shitting in the fucking corner and dismissing public toilets as something bad.
Here's the thing with Frost, right, and the flat out guys. I said this before, right? Even if they're right, and everyone else is wrong, so what? What fucking difference is it going to make your life? Life is going to go on just the same, whether this is a fucking triangle or a prism that we're in, or a fucking sphere or a flat fucking circle. What fucking difference is it going to make to your life, man? Get a life, why don't you?
Well, here, Rob, here's an interesting one for you just before we make our picks and nominations. Ryan Deal piggybacked off this. He said, after Carl Froch, can the pod name any other famous conspiracy theorists in the boxing world? If not, who would you attribute a conspiracy to? Fearon definitely thinks 9/11 was an inside job.
Well, I don't know if I count as part of the boxing world. Count me in. I'm one of them. Me and Froch are fucking, we've got our own WhatsApp messenger group.
Oh, Bob loves a conspiracy. Good old Ryan Deal throwing that one in. If you can think of any in the chat, let us know. Who would you attribute a conspiracy to? I'd say Fearon probably has a few of his own going on.
I'd say Don King has a few conspiracy charges.
Conspiracy to commit. Oh dear. Never mind conspiracies, Andy. Have you got any nominations to throw in this week?
Just a couple, mate. I think most have been covered actually. So I'll throw in one for Steve Bunce on Channel 5 on Friday night. I forget who the female presenter was on Channel 5, but she was showing some pair of pins. Fucking Bunce is doing his absolute best, just looking about the arena and that, not trying to look at them. So I put one in for Bunce. What was the other one? Oh, we mentioned Julius Francis, so I'll leave that one. And that Anthony Chalmers, or Aaron Chalmers, his name is. So yeah, kind of quiet week for me, mate.
Oh, good solid entries there. Mark Stanton says Barry McGuigan and his MTK conspiracies.
He was mad. He's like the new David Icke.
Reptilians.
Michael Thompson saying that Bunce apparently told her she was putting weight on as well.
Really?
Apparently so. I don't know if that's true.
Aaron Chalmers looked quite like a reptilian last night, didn't he? He was morphing into something there.
He's not morphing into a boxer anyway.
Just you wait until the elites can cue in on your exact vibration, Rob, and you're fucked.
They've already got me, man. I'm already fucking targeted. Don't worry about it.
Look at this moron in the chat here. Spam in the chat. Who is this moron?
Oh, are you a grown man with a baby's penis? Oh, fuck me. I better put him on timeout.
Actually, I'm a baby with a grown man's penis. Thank you.
Have you got any nominations, Matty?
Yeah, Andy for saying the Spence is the #1 fighter in the world.
Nothing wrong with that. It's no outrageous.
Andy, you should have said I never said that. Will you stand?
Oh, and also Tyson Fury for getting banned from getting blocked from coming to the United States because of his connections with the whole Daniel Kinahan, all that shit.
I think as well. I think Ben Davison put a video on Instagram or whatever, or Twitter the other day. You know how he called it the Ben Davison Training Centre, but in the middle of like the ring canvas, you've got the big fucking MTK logo.
That's just disassociate himself from a great bunch of lads there, Ben.
Brilliant.
Yeah, Fury, I'll throw that in as well, Matty. Thank you. Will you stand? Says the Channel 5 card should win Bellew of the Week. Shittiest thing I've seen in a while. And Bellew of the Week for Jim McDonald boxing coming in late, like Chuck Woo. We'll let you off this time. Rob, any nominations for you, please?
No, just for the Fury one where he was on TalkSport during the week and he was like, "I'm a fighting man. I'm retired. I'm happily retired with me wife." And then he goes there, 500 million to get the big GK back. And I thought he said, "Get the big DK back." I said, "Shit, man, he's fucking all out there. Look, see what's going on here." But almost close to a fucking Isaac Lowe type slip there from the Gypsy King.
Oh, good stuff. Thank you, Rob. So let's go through our nominations quickly and then we'll make our picks and get out of here for the evening. So we had Carl Froch talking conspiracies on the podcast. We had Michael Hunter's stomach movements. We had Eddie spreading his Australian bullshit. And onto the screenshots, we had Armonte Summers thrown in there, all 6'9", 6'10" of him. Artur Spilker playing chess. We had Joe Joyce talking about Fury. We had Jamal Charlo pissed in the club. We had Just Leave Him Alone, Tony Bellew doing a documentary. We had Rick Glazer doing God knows what. We had Julius Francis knocking out the guy on the cobbles. We had Shannon Courtney with some fish-related advice. We had Christopher Lovejoy busting his nuts. We had DAZN with their LOLs. Manny Pacquiao with NFTs. Ali versus Ali. We had Aaron Chalmers with his reptilian skin. Anthony Yarde saying he's going to stop Beterbiev. Tony Bellew saying that Canelo will beat him. And finally, Donny saying that Callum Smith will beat Beterbiev as well. Quite a strong week this week, Andy. Who are you going for?
I'm going for the main man himself, the $1 billion man, Mr. Edward Hills Hearn. Fucking hell, man. Honestly, I watched about the first 5 minutes of that thing, and see when Jeff Fennick called out his bullshit, I was like, oh, fucking brilliant. And then Eddie tries to spin it, but saying, let me tell my version of it, right? So fucking hell, you just get Eddie a platform and let him spout his ball. It's unchallenged, and then everybody just takes it as gospel. Fucking hell, I'm going to go for Eddie.
Eddie this week for Andy. Matty, I am going to go for Tony Bellew. Ringlicker in chief, as I often label him. Who are you going for?
I'm going for Andy for saying Errol Spence is the #1 fighter in the sport.
Oh dear. An in-house one, Matty, and we didn't even nominate you for Joshua White too.
You should have, because I would have won. Fucking jokes on y'all motherfuckers.
One for Eddie, one for Andy, one for Bellew. Rob, who are you going for? The decision is yours.
Can I just qualify that statement, by the way? I just say, off that list of fighters, I was named pound for pound, and how they were listed, I said probably Spence should be the one that should be #1. I never said he was #1 fighter on the planet. I just say he's considering how he was listed with.
You're putting him up against the people who are generally consensus the #1 fighters on the planet. So therefore, you're saying he's the #1 fighter on the planet. That's just how the math.
It matters, but it's the opinions. That would you say that Usyk is #2 fighter on the planet right now?
No.
Well, there you go then. So he's #2 in the world now. So there you
but
go.
anyways, I think Rob should agree with me. Then you'd win.
I'm winning everything.
I can't do that, Andy.
Jade Khan. You know what I'm saying?
On the pod. No. We're not going to call out our own fucking If I'd have known we were nominating each other, by the way, Matty, you'd have fucking won a few weeks as well, by the way. We go for Eddie, sir. Fucking evening Eddie. I don't know why he's been in there.
Oh, not Eddie again.
No, we go for Eddie and Andy and to fight it out, actually, for interim title. Winner takes all. Eddie versus Andy at a catch weight.
I need to bring Eddie down to at least, what am I these days? I need to bring Eddie down to 175.
Could he make 75 at this stage?
I don't know, mate. He might need to cut his balls and his legs off to try and
What weight was he fighting Fat Frank at?
Eddie must be up 200, like.
Eddie's a big dude. You can fight him, Andy. But he's won Belly of the Week, so congratulations to Eddie for episode 479. You are the winner. And that is where we shall leave it for this evening as I cue up the outro clip. Thank you to everybody who's been on tonight. We've had a laugh as usual. Rapping Rob Kelly's been here, so has Matty, Andy. Ozzy was with us as well. And also thank you to our super chatters. Only the two tonight, Ricky Graville and I am Big Damo Suzuki. Shout out as well to our new Patreon subscribers, Luke, George Reynolds and Robert Cattle, who joined us over at patreon.com/Boxing Asylum. They are now members of the Boxing Asylum Nutters Messenger group. So if you want to join them, come over to Patreon as well. Why not? Rapping Rob Kelly loves it. I've been Steve Wellings. Matty will be in the hot seat, the red hot seat for episode 480 next week. Don't forget to like and subscribe. Leave a comment if you wish. We love you all, and we'll see you all next week. Bye.
We'll never forget.
I think that's good happening.
Go to animals!
We want to be honest, yeah?
Crying like a little bitch.
I've never met a fucking swank that can fight me.
I fell asleep. You're a fucking bum, you're a fucking asshole.
Rumpo fucking Stiltskin.
But allegedly, Oscar Rivas has failed a test.
7-year ain't.
I will fucking smash fucking you.
I hope you fucking die.
Be safe.
I love Boxing Asylum. It's as simple as that.